It is 6:03, and I am calling to order the special meetings of the Whittier City Council, Whittier Redevelopment Successor Agency, Whittier Utility Authority, Whittier Housing Authority, and Whittier Public Financing Authority for Tuesday, May 5th, 2026 are now called to order. Rigo, roll call, please.
Yes, thank you. Councilmember Santana,
Present.
Councilmember Macedo,
Present.
Councilmember Warner,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pacheco,
Here.
Mayor Becerra.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Councilmember Santana, would you lead us, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Everybody please stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 4, approval agenda. Connell, can you walk us through, please, what tonight will look like?
Yes, Mayor and Council. Tonight is your budget study session. And so we have that item on the agenda this evening following public comment and city manager report. The way tonight's evening will unfold is after approval of the agenda, which is your current item number 4, the council would move into public comment, which is the public's opportunity to speak tonight on both closed session and open session items. And then at that point, we would go into closed session and discuss the personnel matters associated with tonight's budget action. Then we would come back out of that closed session and hold your staff report item 7A, which is the fiscal year 2026-27 budget proposal. And then at the conclusion of that, you would have your council member director comments. And then at that point, we would recess again into closed session to complete whatever closed session items we have other than personnel matters associated with tonight's budget actions.
Thank you. Are there any changes to the agenda? May I have a motion then to approve the agenda?
I'll move it. I'll second it.
A second. Roll call, or can we do this verbally?
Well, we can do all in favor.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Item 5, public comments. The public is invited to address the City Council on any agenda item listed on this agenda or items within the subject matter jurisdiction. In the spirit of transparency, we welcome your input. Please note the City Council cannot take action on items not listed on the agenda. We ask all participants to engage respectfully so the meeting can proceed in an orderly manner. While the First Amendment protects a broad range of speech, the city may intervene in cases of true threats, incitement, or significant disruption. Disruptive conduct may result in removal as permitted by law after one warning. We will now begin general public comment, including closed session items. Please stand behind the podium if you'd like to speak, and for members of the public on Zoom, please raise your hand. Comments regarding the public hearing item will be heard during the public hearing. Rigo, how many speakers do we have total?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see some people raising their hands in the crowd. Thank you so much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 14. Mr. Mayor, we have about 14 in person and 2 on Zoom.
Okay, so we're under 20. That would give you 3 minutes each. 3 minutes is 180 seconds. Okay, that's it. But let's have Zoom first, please.
Yes, thank you. Our first speaker is Julian. If you would please unmute your microphone. Julian?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please begin.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Julian, and I'm an artist and small business owner of Stool, a Whittier-based art collective. I'm a collaborator with Exposure Therapy, a monthly event providing space for emerging musicians to perform. and I volunteer with Whittier-based nonprofit 562 Arts. I'm here representing these local grassroots organizations that provide crucial services to advocate for something most Whittier residents would agree has been missing from our city for a long time: community. As the city decides how funds will be allocated, I'd like to take a moment to advocate for long-term investment in permanent third spaces and call for a special meeting to discuss budget allocations to this topic, as it was not visible in the 2026-2027 FY plan or the 5-year budget plan. For those who are unaware, think of a third space as somewhere community members can gather and connect outside of home or work, such as a cafe, a concert hall, an art studio, or a plaza. If there's one thing that I'd like for you, the representatives of Whittier, to consider, it's this. People are desperate for space to exist that encourages them to cultivate friendships, create meaningful things, and feel connected to a community that was built for us. We're tired of waiting for an outside investor or entity of any kind to come and magically revitalize our city. For years, the proposed solution to our city's low visitation numbers has been to find ways to artificially raise the perceived value of our spaces by funding unpopular projects like the Uptown Revitalization Project. The only sustainable way to improve attendance and in turn aid in fixing our city's financial deficit through taxing visitors is by investing in community-led spaces like art centers, performance venues, and community gardens, while allowing residents to shape what the city offers directly. We recognize that the cost of living is high and spending is down. Rather than investing in a quick fix, commerce-focused solution, the city needs to focus on revitalizing a community that lacks third spaces to strengthen its cultural identity. If Whittier is struggling to find its place in commerce, it can prioritize serving its residents and put its mark on the map through more city-funded spaces and cultural hubs that make it a unique destination for LA County. On behalf of the grassroots arts organizations of Whittier, who have been creating these spaces of change and community out of our backyards, we ask that you invest in communal spaces for the future. Suburbia can feel geographically and socially isolating. We're asking for creative outlets like the arts and nature-based education to help the city feel lively again. Art is the backbone of culture. We ask the city to consider a special meeting to further discuss the potential of community-led spaces. I yield my time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is identified as Eternal Significance. If you would please unmute your microphone.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. I would recommend everyone look at the Artemis pictures of Earth from space. I don't believe ever have we ever seen such clear pictures of the Earth. God's creation is amazing, and these pictures will show it. Ecclesiastes, we hear the word in Ecclesiastes 12:13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Regarding the governing authorities, God spells it out for all levels of government, for our citizens. And this is what has kept America stable. Let every soul be in subjection to the governing authorities, for there's no authority except from God. And the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same. Jesus says, follow me. 1 Thessalonians, it says, in flaming fire, taking vengeance on those who do not know God and on those who do not obey the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, These shall be punished with everlasting destruction from the presence of the Lord and from the glory of his power when he comes in that day to be glorified in his and to be admired among all those who believe, because our testimony among you was believed. I would also like to encourage folks to read Proverbs 1, Proverbs 6, 1 through 5, and Proverbs 6, 10, 15, also Proverbs 22, 21 through 27 regarding avoiding getting into debt. This is God's wisdom. I would also encourage folks to read the book of James, where he speaks of praying for wisdom, because God gives liberally wisdom to those who ask. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that it was our last Zoom speaker. Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We do have 8 people that were able to log into the meeting. The Zoom details have always remained the same.
So will we read
So
those?
we have in-person speakers next.
Right.
We traditionally would begin with Mr. Hall here.
That's my understanding. Okay, so we'll move over to in-person speakers. Again, speakers must limit their comments to 3 minutes. A digital display will show how much time is left during your comments, and an audio notification will sound at the 1-minute mark. If you want to be identified in the minutes, please state your name for the record. First speaker, please.
Okay,
Oh, that's right.
Tom Hall. I live up the street from here. Been in Whittier since 1960. Once again, just want to say it one more time, and that is to let these trees get saved in Uptown Whittier, from Wardman to Hadley. Everybody, I would ask to pray in Jesus' name. Ruining a perfectly beautiful town isn't the way to go. Cooler air, beauty, and over 8,000 petitioners want them saved. I hardly talk to anybody at all. It doesn't. Okay.
Thank you. Second speaker, please.
I got my wife, since she wasn't able to log in. You guys kept her from logging in. Go ahead, babe. They could hear you.
Hi, Rigo. I successfully signed in and I was told to unmute. I went ahead and did that and I still wasn't able to speak, but may I proceed?
Go ahead, babe.
Please proceed.
Good
Yeah, please
afternoon,
proceed.
everybody. To the newly elected members of Whittier City Council, you campaigned on promises to protect residents, ensure our voices are heard, and lead with accountability and service. I'm writing to you to not only as a supporter or opponent, but as a resident who has been directly impacted by crime. I want to know clearly and specifically what actions you plan to take to support victims of crime in our community. What policies, resources, or changes will you implement to ensure that people in my position are not overlooked or left without support? It is not enough to speak broadly about protection or representation. Residents deserve concrete plans, transparency, and follow through. I expect you to demonstrate how you campaign and promised this election with real outcomes to those of us affected by crime. I look forward to your response and seeing whether your leadership reflects the promises you made to the community. I understand that you are not able to immediately respond to this. Since it's not in the agenda, I want to ask you to please make this an agenda item, because Public safety is extremely important to every single member of this community. We uploaded some information to the Instagram of Whittier parents, and it was very, very sad to see how many other people just in the past recent years have been also impacted. So I sent 2 emails, one last Tuesday and one this morning. I still haven't heard from any of you guys. Please look over those emails, and I'm available anytime. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, babe. So the login needs work. There's been times I've been suppressed. I'll wait for my time when I want to go ahead and. Ready? All right, guys. Again, congratulations. Remember, this couldn't have been done without my doing for 2 years to stop Joe and make awareness of the corruption and racketeering, racism, and discrimination that was taking place in Whittier. You guys got voted in because, I mean, I don't want to attack you, but there was limited options, pity votes. You know, oh, you might not agree. Yes, you. All right, but anyways, it's my time. Are you guys? What? Please. No. Are you not going to tell them to be quiet or what? All right, I'm talking to you.
I understand. Please continue.
Could you start my time again, please?
No.
Mayor, I'm showing you guys respect. You asked for respect. I expect the respect back as well.
Thank you, please.
Again, how many warnings are you going to give them, Mayor?
Excuse me. The gentleman in the black shirt, you're being disruptive. That was your one warning.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Javier, please continue.
Again, I only want to see the best for Whittier. So be it. Even though we're not friends, I want to see you guys do the right thing for the city. I want to see the city grow and prosper. I want to have business come here, but the number one thing I want is those trees to be saved. That's why I stood up against the corruption and racketeering and being targeted. As my family was attacked, my newborn could have been killed. How many threats did I get? Not only that, attacks as well from Gabriel Martinez with video cameras, and the police department did nothing. I'm asking you, give me justice. Please do the right thing. Give me justice. I want to be able to get along with you guys and make Whittier prosper, not tear it apart and not make you guys targets for wrongdoing to the city. Do the right thing. My family deserves justice. Those trees are still standing because of all the work we did. All the hard work. For 2 years, I put myself out there in the line against Republicans and Democrats. Stood up for what was right. Not for, right is right and wrong is wrong. There's no middle ground. And I ask you guys, do the right thing. Give me justice for my family. You please do not fail me. I want to get along and prosper together, guys. That's all I ask. You have a son. Do the right thing. You guys have the power. Please, I urge you guys, do the right thing. The Lord is looking upon you guys. He gives you guys an opportunity. With great power comes great responsibilities. Now do the right thing. Have a good night.
Mayor Becerra, City Council members, my name is Brendan Ortega, and I wanted to address some history lessons for May 5th. In 1862, during the Battle of Puebla, which is in Cinco de Mayo, the underdog Mexican forces led by General Ignacio Zaragoza defeated a larger French army, symbolizing resistance to foreign intervention. In 1961, during the first American in space, Alan Shepard completed a suborbital flight lasting 15 minutes aboard the Freedom 7 capsule. In 1821, Napoleon, the Emperor of France, died during the exile on the island of St. Helena. In 1891, in the Carnegie Hall opens, the Music Hall in New York opened with a concert conducted by Walter Damrosch and Pyotr Tchaikovsky. In 1921, during the Chanel No. 5 releasing, Coco Chanel released her iconic perfume in her Paris boutique. In 1945, during the Oregon balloon bomb deaths, 6 people were killed by a Japanese balloon bomb on Gerhardt Mountain, the only fatal attack on the U.S. mainland during World War II. In 1949, during the Council of Europe founded, it was established to promote human rights and European integration. In 1978, during the first Ben & Jerry's, the first location opened in Burlington, Vermont. In 2023, during the COVID-19 emergency ending, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 was no longer a global health emergency. And I wanted to address budget. The City of Whittier is currently reviewing the proposed fiscal year 2026 and 27 budget, with a special study session scheduled on today for the 2024 and 25 fiscal year. The city operated on a $155 million total budget, which included a projected $104.3 million general fund, reflecting a roughly 5% increase in the general fund over the prior year and the modest projected surplus. And I wanted to wish 4 female council members good luck, and I wish you guys a wonderful service. And let's make sure that 4 female council members will make history to be made. Thank you. God bless all of you, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you. Please begin.
Good evening, Council. My name is Yasmin Gomez. I'm a lifelong Whittier resident, a mother, and someone directly affected by the decisions you make, especially the decisions about our city budget. Tonight, I want to speak about how our resources are being allocated and who is not being reached by those allocations. Thank you. There has been a lot of conversation lately, both in the community and online, about having a Latino council, which should be a nonpartisan space, has turned into a conversation about race and immigration. I want to be clear, I have nothing against immigrants. My own mother was an immigrant. Immigrants are part of my family and part of Whittier, but I am concerned when undocumented immigration becomes the center of budget decisions, while residents like myself who pay federal, state, and Social Security taxes are pushed aside. Undocumented immigrants do not contribute to the tax pool in the same way citizens and documented immigrants do. Yet taxpayer funds were allocated for legal services for individuals impacted by ICE. Meanwhile, families like mine who are struggling cannot access basic support. And I want to remind this council, City of Whittier employees are tax exempt on their salaries. That means the people making these decisions are not contributing into the same tax pool that residents like me contribute to every paycheck. If you are not contributing in the same way, then you have a responsibility to put your personal agendas aside and put the community first. Because right now, the most vulnerable people in Whittier are not being prioritized. I'm not just advocating for the unhoused, although I've been doing that consistently. I'm advocating for all vulnerable residents, low-income families who need child care support, seniors who need transportation and safe places to gather, people with disabilities who need accessible services, working parents who need stability, and residents living in their vehicles who are criminalized instead of helped. That brings me to the hypocrisy in our ordinances. Whittier prohibits vehicle habitation, which means people like me who are trying to survive end up in repeated encounters with law enforcement. I have experienced this more times that the number of immigrants in this community who are impacted by ICE. That contrast should matter when you decide how to allocate funds. And while residents are being cited and displaced, the Social Services Committee allocated over $200,000 to Ad Hoc, an organization that takes months to generate statistics with no actual housing outcomes. If we are being honest, it feels like the city chose to analyze the homeless and criminalize their existence instead of helping. This isn't just a Whittier issue. California has mismanaged $54 billion in funds meant for homeless and is unaccounted for. That's not lack of funding, that's gatekeeping. That's money getting stuck in layers of administration.
Thank you for your comment. Your time has elapsed.
Thank you.
the next speaker would come up, and you're able to adjust the microphone to your preference. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Becerra, Mayor Pro Tem Pacheco, City Manager McNamara, members of Whittier City Council. I am Nolan Carter, a proud resident of Whittier and the Artistic Director of Whittier Shakes Theater Company. Congratulations to those of you newly elected to office. We are thrilled for what's to come. One of the unforeseen pleasures of our theater is the opportunity to meet and know the leaders here, and I really look forward to getting to know you all. My wife and I started Whittier Shakes 2 years ago with the dream of sharing beautiful theater with our immediate community. This endeavor is an extension of my parents' legacy. Both are Whittier public school teachers who produce multiple stellar shows a year and have for decades. Olivia and I have a heart for accessibility because we really love people and we really believe in the power of theater and its introduction through Shakespeare in the Park. So when we started this 2 years ago, we wanted to do the best theater with the best people for the best people with one big caveat. It couldn't cost anyone a dime, and it couldn't require a reservation of any sort. In the industry of theater, Shakespeare in the Park is small cookies. No one's acting or directing career is made at Shakespeare in the Park, except maybe with the Public Theater in New York City. In the hearts and minds of potential lovers of theater and Shakespeare, though, it may be the most important artistic encounter one could have. Joyfully, we found an audience here. We had about 900 people attend our first production of The Taming of the Shrew over 3 days, which grew to around 2,000 last year for Romeo and Juliet. We have done our best to optimize the process to minimize costs and maximize the specialness of the production. We keep rehearsals compact, invite the best actors to the room so preparation can stay brief, negotiate for in lieu donations and volunteer labor, and design the costumes and sets to utilize the materials we already own. Nevertheless, there remain unavoidable production costs, and we cannot count on favors to last forever. The city was enormously gracious to assist us with these expenses last year, so we humbly approach council again in the hopes that we can keep this wonderful expanding program going. We could never get to the bottom of what makes these plays so great. The stories, the poetry, the characters, the insights into human psychology. You would think with all that flowery and old-fashioned language, the one thing you couldn't accuse it of is brevity. But that is one of my favorite features of Shakespeare, the economy of language. In fact, when I instruct my actors to paraphrase, one of my rules is that they must take 4 sentences to say what Shakespeare was able to say in 1. In this way, Shakespeare's text is like a little gift that keeps on giving. Our dream is that this compact little Shakespeare in the Park program would be just like the text that inspires it, densely packed, freely giving, and overflowing with beauty that will continue to uplift the community even after the actors bow. Thank you.
Hello, Council. My name is Shannon Hammer. I'm the President and CEO of the Whittier Chamber of Commerce and also a Whittier resident, and congratulations once again.
And I'm Liz Apodaca. I'm the Chair of the Board of the Whittier Chamber and also a Whittier resident.
And on behalf of the Chamber, I want to take a moment to express our sincere appreciation for the continued support from the city. That partnership is not something we take for granted. It plays a vital role in strengthening our business community and the broader local economy. We are proud of the collaborative relationship we've built together. It allows us to move forward with shared goals, aligned priorities, and a commitment to serving both our business community and the community as a whole in meaningful ways. As a chamber, we remain dedicated to leading with purpose and delivering meaningful impact for our business community. We are also committed to staying forward-thinking, continually developing new initiatives that respond to the needs of our businesses and residents, such as the Community Job Fair and other programs that create workforce development, opportunity, and connection. Whether it's advocating for local businesses, creating pathways for growth, or supporting, we are committed to being a proactive and dependable partner. We look forward to continuing this work together, supporting the city, strengthening our business community, and building a vibrant future for everyone we serve. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tony Avila, Whittier resident for 34 years. This is my statement. When it was called to my attention that the previous city council adopted a proposal to gift our police department and city staff with a generous raise, my reaction was to view it as inappropriate, but not surprising. Did this generosity supersede a fixed salary schedule for these city employees? I'd like to know. If it did, then these gifts need to be re-examined, if not rescinded. In any case, it should be up to the newly elected city council to determine the justification for such generosity. I believe that raises should be based on collective bargaining when salaries are not keeping up with the cost of living and other extenuating circumstances. City employees should not have to resort to striking to receive fair compensation. However, any raises and other benefits need to be studied and reviewed with a report that shows the justification for increased salaries and benefits. Did the previous city council create such a report? If so, Whittier's residents need to know. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Vallejo, and I'm actually reading the letter that I emailed in to our city council. Dear Mayor, James Becerra, and council members, first and foremost, on behalf of our members and we congratulate you and we welcome you to our city leadership. As you may be aware, Reform Whittier is a local organization made up of numerous Whittier residents. In 2023, we initiated a ballot measure which aimed to establish term limits, so we don't have the prior debacle that we had previously, and also aligning our city election with the state. Regrettably, we were unable to gather the necessary signatures. The shortfall was not due because of the interest or lack of interest, from our residents. It was basically due to a deficiency in resources to tackle the huge task of gathering signatures for a ballot initiative. So I'm here today because I am asking or requesting that you consider aligning our Whittier local elections with the state of California elections, preferably the primary. There are many reasons for this, and I'll briefly tell you a few. Increase of voter turnout. Consolidating our election dates reduces voter fatigue, and it typically results in higher participation compared to a standalone municipal election. In 2020, when our city was forced to align its election due to low voter turnout, because of SB 415, that would be Senate Bill 415, we saw a significant increase in voter turnout. It almost tripled. It would also reduce cost, holding fewer separate elections, lowering administrative staffing expenses relating to updating equipment, and reduces the financial burden on the city, or at least some of it. Improved representation. Higher turnout generally produces a governing body that better reflects the community's preferences and needs. Streamlining of administration. Our city clerk could still continue to be our designated election official, and coordinate with the LA County to conduct the actual ballot. Our representatives could actually direct the city staff to draft an ordinance and shift the municipal election to the states. So for this, I bring it up only because of the budget. So
Thank you for your comment. Your
this
time
into
has
consideration.
elapsed.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brenda Victoria Castillo. I've been a resident of Whittier for more than 30 years. It is such a pleasure to see the new city council. You can tell by my big smile. So congratulations. I want to make it very clear that you are all in your position because of the residents of the city of Whittier have spoken. And that is why you are there. I understand that the agenda, I want to talk about two things. I understand the agenda has allocated funding for more drones for the police department. This really concerns me. I would recommend the city council review the preliminary budget that was largely developed before you got in your positions. I asked the council to slow the process down and allow for more thorough, transparent review of the budget. I urge the City Council to consider a deeper, more forensic level accounting to ensure spending reflects the needs and values of the residents of the City of Whittier. And then secondly, I heard this gentleman who spoke first about planning and creating a third space that is safe and can be uplifting for our community. Note, in my position as president and CEO of the National Hispanic Media Coalition, I would be willing to help create and plan that third space in Whittier so that folks can connect, collaborate, and create in the arts and culture where everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Felicia, and I would also like to congratulate our newly elected city council members and mayor. We're happy to have you, and as was mentioned, this has not gone without the hard work of the city residents who wanted new leadership, so I'm excited to see what comes. I did also want to touch on a couple of items that I've seen on the agenda, and that is reiterating the point that was just mentioned and slowing down the process of allocating more funds for drones and utilizing those, especially for the police, and making sure that we're very mindful and holistic of everything that's going on with the development of technology and how resources are going to be allocated, especially when it comes to city spending. I also see the AHOP affordable housing item is on the agenda to approve 1 unit in the new housing structure being built at the Uptown Walk. And while that's great, I'm glad we're going to be doing that. I also encourage us to do more in that space of affordable housing. Obviously, that's a major issue, and reasons of unaffordability are going to come into play, but we need more access to affordable housing, whether that be rent caps or any other items I'm sure that have been talked about amongst you all, in making sure that we can access affordable, not only rentals, but home ownership, especially in this city for people like myself who've grown up here but cannot access that at this point in time, unfortunately. And I also want to reiterate the point of aligning our elections with the primary elections, as was mentioned before as well. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very happy to see everybody. My name is Jenny Martin. I'm a 20-year resident in District 2. I have a long list of wants and desires, but for now, as a tree person, I want to remind you how important the fight to save the trees has been to all of us. First, as I passed out the flyers, then during the summer concerts, we walked and talked to the residents about saving the trees, first about Greenleaf, and then the trees on Parnell. We saw the devastation that happened there. We know that the residents were not heard with the Parnell project. We talked to the past city manager, and we were very disappointed with Seiki. Yet it still went ahead and the trees were cut down. We hope that is not what is going to happen with Greenleaf and that they can be saved. We have fought very hard for these trees. Whittier is a city of trees. For the very first time, as I drive around, I live by Palm Park, I have seen signs that say, we cannot landscape this tree because there is a family of birds that live in this tree. This is the first time that I've seen these signs on the trees, and I'm very happy to see these signs. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for saving the little birds. This is a little hope. I'm very happy about that. So I try to come to all these meetings. So thank you so much for this little hope. Okay, so I'll be seeing all of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does it begin when I begin? Oh, I guess it does. There it goes. Hello, my name is Andrew, and I live in District 4. I've lived there for over 25 years. I want to state that I have been a member of the Puente Hills Habitat Authority as a volunteer. I volunteer as a trail watch. I've been trained as a docent. And I'm also part of the Fiscal Oversight Committee on one of the bonds that was passed. And so my comments here today are not as a member of that oversight committee, but as a member of the city of Whittier as a citizen. I'm also a frequent visitor to the Theodore Payne Foundation in Sun Valley. About 70% of my house is native garden, and the remaining is drought tolerant of non-native species. Most or all of my plants have come from the Theodore Payne Foundation nursery. Part of the Theodore Payne Foundation strategic goals for 2020 plus are to normalize native landscapes across communities and to increase the presence of native plants, and also to influence public policy and municipal landscape policy. And so why do I bring that up? I bring that up as part of my credential as someone who is very much interested in the preservation of our native flora and fauna here. I think this is Mr. Henderson here, who also fought very much for that, and I travel often along the trail named after him. Now, the goals of the Whittier Conservancy, I do believe, are laudable for trying to maintain the tree canopy around Whittier. However, not all history conservancy is created equal, and not all trees are created equally for Southern California. The ficus and jacaranda trees are, yes, part of our Whittier history, but promotion of keeping them is conservancy, but not necessarily conservationist. A conservationist mindset would not seek to preserve a 60-year history of invasive landscape species. A conservationist mindset would seek to return our local landscape to pre-colonial times. A conservationist mindset would look for a landscape that local Tongva and other indigenous tribes would recognize and enjoy even today. Our Greenway Trail fits more of a conservationist mindset with the native scrub oak, the black walnut, the deergrass, the California lilac, and Matiliha poppies. I contend that the Whittier Conservancy and other interest groups are unknowingly promoting a post-colonial mindset in our landscape. Nobody on this council, I hope, would promote planting jacaranda and ficus trees in our local Puente Hills. And so I hope that as you consider the lawsuit that is designed to preserve and codify invasive colonial aspects of our city's history, that you would seek any type of settlement that would mitigate the loss of native and landscape indigenous plants, and that we could then help to revitalize and restore what has been lost historically in the city of Whittier. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Gail Bryson, Uptown, and let me just say how swell it is to see 3 new faces joining our city council. So, a budget is a blueprint for priorities. The budget before you tonight has been in the works for months and is a reflection of the priorities of some staff and the previous council. However, just since the creation of this budget, many things have changed. The country is at war, creating uncertainty in the economy. Whittier has lost the police contract with Santa Fe Springs, and most importantly, the people of Whittier have spoken, and many items in this budget proposal do not reflect the priorities and needs expressed by this great community on April 14th. So let me just give you one example. Tonight, you are going to consider an additional budgeting adjustment for the upcoming year that adds even more deficit spending. On page 5, attachment D, the police department is asking for an additional $418,000 for a used battering ram. It is written, the Bat-X is an armored vehicle that will be protection during high-risk situations such as armed barricades, hostage rescues, active shooters, and warrant service? Have you ever heard of a battering ram being used to serve a warrant? So, in addition to flock cameras and sidewalk robots, more of our money is being requested for drones, control rooms, fencing, and fortifications, and now 400,000 plus for a used battering ram that will sit in a garage somewhere and probably never be used. Is this really necessary? Is this a priority of the people you took an oath to serve? Look, respectfully, of course, our library is now closed 3 nights a week. Priorities. We, the people of Whittier, love our community, and we don't want it turned into a barricaded defensive fortress.
Thank you for your comment. Your time has elapsed.
All so much, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mary Gorman Sullins, president of the Whittier Conservancy, a 3-time recipient of the Governor's Awards for Historic Preservation, Community Action, and Affordable Housing Project on Comstock and Penn. You may have heard claims that the Conservancy frequently resorts to lawsuits against the city whenever we disagree with the project. That is simply not true. Litigation has only been pursued under 2 circumstances. First, when the city violates either its own laws or state law, and second, when those actions are so harmful to the community that we have no reasonable alternative. The city's continued spending to defend projects that lack public support, frankly, is a waste of taxpayer funds. This can and should be avoided. If the city follows its own adopted laws, such as the tree manual and the specific plan, documents already paid for by taxpayers, there would be far less conflict and far less unnecessary expense. There is no need to hire consultants for every preservation-related question. By reevaluating, adjusting certain contracts, even accounting for penalties, the city could save approximately $2.5 million. No contracts have been issued for the Promenade project. We are proposing an interim alternative that would eliminate the $20 million price tag and deliver meaningful improvements to Uptown now for between $1 and $2 million. At Parnell Park, while construction is underway, there are still opportunities to revise mitigation measures. For example, ditching the toxic artificial turf that was on the agenda, and larger tree plantings that better serve environmental and community needs. Tonight, we urge you to settle the Promenade and tree manual lawsuits and to cancel costly consultant contracts tied to these projects that do not reflect the community's priorities. There is no justification for spending $500,000 on an EIR to replace the tree manual, nor another $500,000 for an urban forest management plan that includes public relations efforts to promote unpopular initiatives. We look forward to working with you. Our goal is collaboration with the city and other local groups to achieve meaningful community-focused improvements without placing unnecessary financial strain on residents. I want to thank you all for your time. I want to thank you all for your service, and I want to congratulate our new council members. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Helen Rader, Executive Director of the Conservancy. Do I have this in the right place for you to hear me? Okay. No? Can you hear me? Yeah? No? Got it there? All right, can I have my 10 seconds back? And I want to congratulate Rigo for the great article in the paper, and he's done a fabulous job on the election, and congratulations to all of you. Why are the people so passionate about Whittier? All of us. In the preservation community, we call this passion a sense of place. Our sense of place comes from visible shared community assets. Our hills, the parks, the blocks that we live on, our schools, our churches, our homes, and our Uptown Historic District. The things that we can recognize and point to
and agree on as being the unique qualities that define Whittier. And so tonight, as you consider your budgetary allocations, please know that we have never been able to get funding for a citywide historic inventory, nor for the critical resources within the Uptown Specific Plan, never. There has been nothing in the budget for the past 24 years for these essential tools, a quarter of a century. And that has caused confusion and destruction of some important historic resources. While we were able to save Central Park years ago and its surrounding homes, they were all scheduled for demolition. 3/4 of Uptown within the specific plan resources have not yet been surveyed. And this has led to further decay and destruction and incompatible development of 1888 to 1912 structures. Structures are not important because they're old. It's because they're part of who we are and who the community is now. They exist now. Tonight, we're asking for 2 things in the budget. 1, we're asking that you allocate money just for a survey of the remaining Uptown historic resources within the specific plan. Since the preservation consultant has recently completed the context statement, half the cost has already been absorbed with the study on Central Park contributors. This means you could probably complete the entire specific plan survey for less than $200,000. Compare that price tag with the cost of hiring a consultant every time the staff has a question about what should or should not be looked at. Something for an Uptown building and then having to deal with us. This is not cost effective. It's a game changer if you just get this survey done for, like I said, I think it could be done for under $200,000. Finally, on our long list of requests, a qualified preservation planner. This is something that has always been, we've always gotten that you cannot have this, we're not going to spend the money for PERS and for another employee. A city this size, with the amount of historic resources to oversee, needs a qualified historic preservation planner in the planning department. The amount of money the city has to pay out to consultants and the resulting mistakes and misinterpretation of the codes has cost the city hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Thank you for your comment. Your time has elapsed.
I'm just about done, Rigo. Can I have two more seconds here? Far beyond the cost of having one professional preservation planner on staff to handle such matters. So if you could consider those 2 in the budget, we would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Council, and particular welcome to our 2 new members and mayor. Whittier used to be a home for over 30,000 trees, and I'm the chair of the Urban Forest Committee of the Whittier Conservancy, and so I know trees and have dealt with it for years. Now we have only 21,000. This means that about half the beauty and benefit of our tree canopy is gone. And every year we've come to this council and we've asked for a budget for trees. We've never got one, and the city's never had one. And you know who provided the money? We did, the Conservancy. For many years, we provided the money necessary for the trees. So, in fact, 2 years ago, I came to the Parks Department and I made them aware of a grant from CAL FIRE for the express purpose of a urban forest management. Now, I stress that, and my dream is it will be the best urban forest management program in the basin that we would have. Fortunately, they followed the advice, they got their application in on time, and they got $345,000. Now, it was to be used for urban forest management program. It wasn't, and we don't know exactly where the money went. We still gave some money for the trees ourselves. So, what we ask is tonight, we're asking that you grant the money, which we help secure, be budgeted specifically to hire 2 graduate interns, and they come from Davis or from Cal Poly, where we've got a professor emeritus in environmental science with us, who will be trained in this area for the purpose of establishing an urban forest management. Now, the reason I say this, and I emphasize it, is we've got a maintenance program. And our arborist, Wayne McBurney and Virginia, they do a good job with doing that. But not a day is planned ahead. If we had one, we wouldn't have the trouble uptown. So we need urban forest manager. We need those two positions. And we ask that you use that money and also provide us with a budget for our trees. Because we in Whittier can truly be called a tree city. We've fallen away, and technically we weren't a tree city anymore, but we bring that back. We're a tree city with urban forest management. And please consider that in your budget, and at least the $345,000 that we put in. It's going to be more, I know. But those are the two items: urban forest management, trainees in the Parks Department. And
Thank you for
got a
your
vacant
comment.
position
Your time has elapsed.
that you could fill for management with that.
Thank you. Please begin.
Good evening, newly elected Whittier City Council. What a breath of fresh air. I can't believe that I'm standing here and I don't have to worry about being late and not getting a ticket to come up and speak. Thank you so much. Feliz 5 de Mayo, felicidades. I want to congratulate Aida Macedo, Vicky Santana, our new mayor, James Becerra, congratulations. Miguel Garcia and Ted Snyder, they would be so proud to see this new vision of our wonderful city council. I had always said in the past that our old city council had no connection with the community, and I was right, and that's the reason why you're here. In a perfect world, I would like to see more projects done below Whittier Boulevard, where we have no library, no community center, no place for the children to be able to do their homework, or to no computers. As a matter of fact, in many of the streets, we have no lights, and that needs to be changed. In a perfect world, we need more ADA for a lot of senior citizens, so that they're able to enjoy a park and be able to go up the curb without falling down. And at our parks, we need more things for children that are disabled. A park should be for all children, and all children need to be considered. Also, in Uptown area, instead of criminalizing the young people like our last city council did, we need to have a new skate park and maybe a skating rink for the young people in the middle of town somewhere, because we have amazing young adults. Tonight, I stand here as past president of Whittier Sunrise Rotary, and I'm inviting you to an emergency preparedness meeting that we're having tomorrow at the East Whittier Women's Club. It's going to be at 7 o'clock tomorrow. I have said for many, many years that we need to be prepared for an emergency. We have a lot of problems with our infrastructure up in the hills. God forbid if we ever have a fire or an earthquake, I don't know how our vehicles are going to make it up to those roads because they're in really bad shape. But most important, I think it's important that all senior citizens and people that have ADA issues are accounted for in case of a fire or an earthquake. At this point, we don't have anywhere to go. If there was to be an earthquake or a fire, where do we go? The Red Cross is no longer here. And so I think that part of the budget should be, that we do something so that we are prepared in case of a fire or an earthquake. And most important, this event tomorrow is for the community to be prepared in case we have an emergency. You are all invited. You're the leaders of our community, and I want to congratulate you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please begin.
Time hasn't started. There we go. First of all, congratulations. Being your opponent, Vicky Santana, it was a great pleasure to see you out there, see the three of you. But I want to warn you that because Joe got the pass, and so did the other two council members, you guys are going to be scrutinized. And I'm 100% behind you guys. I believe in what you said because we all presented the same position. In the past, my attorney and myself reached out for the removal of Richard Quirk, and nothing was done. It also included the removal of Fernando Lopez, who's on the personnel board, who was also sent to attack me by Richard Quirk's partner. You guys have received that letter from my attorney, and I hope that you guys continue to push forward in removing all racism, because we know that a lot of these projects, including the Uptown projects, were pushed by racist Richard Quirk, who's no longer part of this. So I will be, along with many people in the community, looking into the projects to prove that directly impact marginalized communities. Now, one of the things that I want to raise an issue on is, aside from the removal of Fernando Lopez, is this budget. It includes charging people to park in Uptown. It includes increasing the sales tax, which is supposed to be locked. It includes raising the water rate fee. It includes pushing everyone that lives on a fixed income. So I warn you, you're working right now through a rush project because this was set by someone else. I ask that you table this. Look into what increases are impacting us, because deals were made in March. We have a city manager here who's going to make $500,000 if you guys fire him. So I say take the cut, take it now, fire him now before it becomes $1 million. You need to work on your own principles, on what you promised, and ensure that we just cut that line. These people that continue driving, it was Joe, it was Fernando, and it was Octavio, but the people presenting those choices are still here. Make the right choices, look into your decisions, because we will look into everything that you're doing. Aside from that, please scrap the Greenleaf Promenade. That will prevent any lawsuits. It ends. And go back to the streetscape plan, which was approved by all parties, the community, the businesses, and government. Look into that project where we spent millions of dollars to approve, and Joe Vinatieri changed it during COVID. Scrap the Greenleaf Promenade, and we will have no lawsuits, and we can start over and agree on something to move forward to that everyone agreed upon. It benefits all of Uptown, and it shouldn't just benefit 3 people. Congratulations, and thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, public comments is closed. We'll move on to item 6, city manager report. Mr. McNamara, is there a city manager report?
No, Mayor and Council, there is not.
Okay, thank you. We will now recess into closed session for item 9C, labor negotiations. The purpose of the closed session is to allow the city council to provide negotiation direction to staff regarding employee compensation and benefits consistent with the Brown Act. Any reportable action taken in closed session will be disclosed in open session.
Mr. Mayor, we are live.
Thank you, Rigo. Item 7, staff reports. Mr. McNamara, please introduce the next item.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Item 7 is your fiscal year 2026-27 budget proposal. Excuse me. And again, this would be our working session with you, talking about the adoption of the budget. Obviously, this budget is what the city uses to provide the essential services to the residents. We have very conservative estimates, as we always do, as we look at both revenues and expenditures. And the way we're going to propose to do this evening, we will have Tram Pham, our finance director, make a presentation to you. We have all of the department heads in front of you, and we'd like to give each one of them an opportunity to make a very brief presentation to the City Council relative to their departments, at which time Staff is available to answer any questions the council might have and discuss any issues that you might have this evening. Just by way of talking about the process, once we get clear direction from the council in this budget study session, that allows TRAM the opportunity to go back, package up the budget, which would then be brought to you for action in a public hearing at our first meeting in June. This has historically been the process and the process that most jurisdictions undertake when they adopt their fiscal year budgets. So with that, barring any questions, I'll turn it over to TRAM and the department head team, and we're all available to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and member of the council. Tonight, we present to you the fiscal year 26-27 proposed budget. And here's the different budget-focused item for tonight. And I'll start off with the fiscal year 25-26 fiscal update. Now, just a brief overview. As you are aware, the city received money from various funding sources. Depending on the nature of the fund, it can be classified as special revenues fund or general fund. Special revenue funds are restricted revenue that can only be spent on qualified expenditures. The focus for this budget study session will be on general fund, which is our chief operating fund and the most unrestricted fund. Part of tonight's presentation is giving you all the most current up-to-date on our general fund projection.
We need to have the mic a little closer.
Oh, am I now?
Yeah.
Being louder? Can you guys hear me?
Just a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Part of tonight's presentation is giving you the most current update on our general fund projection for the current fiscal year. As you can see, the revised forecast remain consistent with our original projected deficit for fiscal year 25-26 adopted budget. Revenue is projected to increase substantially, mainly due to the $16.7 million one-time revenue that the city received earlier this year of August 2025 from California Department of Transportation, or Caltran, for the relinquishment of Whittier Boulevard. Property tax is projected to come in stronger than what is originally budgeted. All the other major revenues, such as sales tax, Measure W, user utility tax, vehicle in lieu, remain consistent with what was originally budgeted, which is presented in the second table. Now, projected expenditure is also increased mainly due to the construction of Parnell Park that mainly funded with the general fund dollar from surplus money that were previously earmarked back in 2021 and park impact fees. Funding for this project was adopted outside of the normal budget cycle at the contract award. The budget for this contract is almost $24 million and is fully cash funded, with $16 million come from the general fund and park impact fees. The remainder come from the state grants, Air Quality Management District, County Measure W Stormwater, and County Measure A Open Space. Now, adjustment to reserve is consistent with prior year with proposing the use of homeless shelter and outreach reserve for 2.1 and 1.4 from PERS and Caltran relinquishment reserve. Now, I wanted to please keep in mind that projection could change depending on the actual numbers from now to the end of this fiscal year and when we actually close the book. Now, here is our fiscal year 26-27 proposed budget. In this slide, the current proposed budget take into consideration of the current economic forecast at the local level government, as well as the overall macroeconomic that could potentially impact the interest rate, then essentially our interest income. Estimated revenue for major revenue, which will be covered in more details in subsequent slides, is provided by HDL and they are the expert in property tax and sales tax, and they help us with forecasting our major revenue. With that being said, the budget remained conservative while also focused on the cost of providing essential city services. Overall, revenue is projected to be at $114.5 million and total expenditure at $118.1 million. Total expenditure here broken down by major categories, as you can see that it's employee service costs, maintenance and operation, transfer and non-operating expenditures. Transfer and non-operating expenditure consist of the transfer to our debt service fund to meet our debt service obligation related to the pension obligation bond that was issued back in 2021. Non-operating expenditures generally represent the one-time cost for equipment purchase or capital project improvements. Now I want to go into more details of what the reserve adjustment here means, the $3.6 million, and explain the history and the strategy of proposing the use of a different reserve. Fiscal year 26-27 is proposing the use of $2.1 million from homeless shelter reserve and $2.3 for PERS reserve, and lastly the use of state relinquishment set aside for $166,000. Over time and in the past year, the city has been able to build up our strong reserve due to the conservative budgeting and spending. PERS reserve was set aside to address future PERS rate increases. This reserve has an initial balance of $4.7 million in 22 and has been able to build up the reserve balance to $13.1 million in by fiscal year 24-25. Homeless shelter and outreach reserve was set up in fiscal year 22 to pay for future expenses of the shelter from the surplus money coming in from American Rescue Plan Act, which is your COVID money that the city received, about roughly $16 million one-time revenue. Lastly, the city received a lump sum from the state for the relinquishment of Whittier Boulevard that I mentioned earlier for $16.7 million. Per council directive, this fund has been set aside to generate additional income from interest income to really fund for the initial investment, equipment purchases, as well as ongoing maintenance and expense of Whittier Boulevard. So to balance this year budget, the proposal is to use $2.1 million from the homeless shelter reserve, $2.3 from PERS reserve, and what would be the ongoing maintenance expense is $166 from Caltron money set aside. And I'll pause here if anyone has questions.
Mr. Mayor, question? May I?
Okay.
Council members, do you have questions?
Yes, thank you.
Council members, if you have questions, we're going to start with Kathy at this end and then move this way.
Thank you. So Tram, the UAL for PERS, not the UAL that we paid off with the bonds, but the UAL that we currently have, are we able to pay that in full on a going forward basis?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, and so do you know what that figure is for the year?
Go into it in some futures in the next
Yeah,
few slides.
so the next few slides will
address that?
We'll address that.
Okay, I'll hold off on my questions,
But
and
for
thank you.
this, for fiscal year 26-27, that PERS payment is at $5.3 million.
For the current UAL?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Trem, my question is regarding the homeless shelter and outreach reserve. You said that we're taking $2.1 million. You mentioned some of the COVID money the city had received. So what does that leave us with for that allocated amount? And is that money from the reserve money that we got for COVID funds?
Yes, so After proposing fiscal year, using the $2.1 million from for the homeless shelter reserve, we're looking at the homeless shelter reserve balance at the end of fiscal year 26-27 is $7.8 million.
And in terms of the 5-year projection, but like the increase in expenses for the city, how does that play into that amount, the 7.8? I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm trying to figure out, like, if we take that money from the reserve for the purposes of the homeless shelter, how does that affect our 5-year plan, essentially?
I think what you're getting at and what Tram mentioned is in 22, when the council made the decision to set aside money for the homeless shelter, that reserve was set aside to fund the remaining portion of the homeless, the navigation center contract, which runs through 2028. So the direction the council gave at that time was to set that money aside and fund it into future years until the end of that contract. So that was the direction from the council at that time.
So taking the 2.1 will not affect that ability to cover those expenses until 2028?
We would continue to fund that way. That's the direction from that reserve through the end of that contract. At the end of that contract, or sometime before that, the council will have to make a decision as to how they want to handle moving forward with that at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tram. And thank you for the briefings that you guys have done so far privately. So I do have a question on the Whittier Boulevard. When we incorporated and we took over the Whittier Boulevard, what was the amount of the fund that we received from Caltrans?
We received $16.7 million.
And so you mentioned that we put that aside and we're using some of it. What are we using to fund the ongoing expenses to date?
So last budget year, or I guess in fiscal year 25-26, the initial investment for that money was to fund for the bucket service truck and the work trucks and the additional personnel that is dedicated to maintain the Whittier Boulevard.
And what is the cost of personnel?
The cost of personnel, I will apologize, I'm trying to get that information to you.
So while you're looking for that, the cost of the personnel, is that coming from the 16.7 or from the interest generated from the 16.7?
It will be funded with the $16.7 million, and in addition to the interest income that is coming in. So for 25-26 fiscal year, the interest income that's been generating from that pot of money is, so far we already received $350,000.
And so what is so we receive that in interest, and what is our ongoing cost for personnel for Whittier Boulevard?
Let me get that information to you quickly. So the budget for that budget code this year is $466,000. So that will be the ongoing cost and any additional cost of living adjustment.
And so the difference that is coming out of the 16.7?
Yes.
Ongoing?
Yes.
Okay. So so in my world, we're in the county, we don't normally use, one-time money or interest from one-time money to pay for ongoing personnel costs. Can you explain a little bit more about why we chose to go in that direction?
Well, initially when we received that money, what staff is hoping for is that the money that we wouldn't touch the $16.7 million, I guess, the principal. Yes, thank you. So the principal, we wouldn't really dip into the principal too much, and we're hoping that touching the principal only is coming is to fund for the initial purchase of just, like your one-time cost. And then the ongoing cost and personnel costs, that should really cover from the interest income. So what I project is very conservative. So far, the interest rate has been coming in around 3.8 or close to 4%, and what we invest in U.S. Treasuries. So far, the interest rate has been pretty stable, and that's really tied back to the overall Federal Reserve, whether they cut rates or that will impact our interest income. So far, I would say that what we generate from interest income should cover for the ongoing personnel cost.
So there's an expectation from the community that there will be a master plan and there will be investments in Whittier Boulevard, which in the long run should generate more, hopefully more sales tax and more property tax. So my concern is that if we're relying on interest rate for the full amount, how are we going to spend the money on that master plan and implementing that master plan?
Well, Mayor, Council, I think one of the things that I've been talking to Kyle and Yolanda about is our strategy as we move forward. We know candidly that we're sailing into some headwinds economically. Our numbers still remain quite strong in terms of property tax growth. We're not seeing a reduction in sales tax. We're actually seeing a slight increase according to HDL. A big part of what we're going to look to tackle over the coming year, and I think we'll have a better answer for you a year from now, is what can we be doing to reach out and increase some of the revenue coming into the city? And I think it's things you're talking about, improvements to Whittier Boulevard, improvements to the uptown area, working with our businesses, but also looking internally at our own inefficiencies and belt-tightening in those ways. And it's going to be a complete package that we're going to be looking at. It will be definitely top of mind to me, working with the Chamber, working with the Uptown Association, working with the UWIA, to make sure that we are all working together to increase that revenue. It benefits all of us. And I think, it would not obviously be ideal in our minds to continue down a path, to be candid, of using interest earnings to pay for things like that. I personally agree with you. And the reason why I kind of deferred to Tram is because unfortunately I wasn't here when these decisions were made. I'm not going to dispute them, but I think over the coming year we can embark on the direction that I think we all want to go here, including you guys, and start moving forward in those directions. So when we come back next year with a budget, we have perhaps a more solidified path and plan.
Well, and so I'm asking because there's a great expectation from the community that something will be done. I mean, District 2 is what I've been calling the gateway into the city, and Whittier Boulevard is the main entrance. And so I'm just concerned that we've tied up our funds to beautify and to provide potential grants to the property owners or to the storefronts to be able to do anything to beautify it and create a more pedestrian-friendly environment and clean up some of the empty lots and to attract things. So I'm really, I told you personally, so I'm really concerned that this is how we funded the ongoing costs for the staff, because now I feel like my hands are tied, and there's like the Whittier Boulevard doesn't just affect District 2, it goes across a lot of the districts, and so I do want to see something. I want to see a master plan. I want to be able to tell the community, but honestly, I feel like I can't, because I don't know when we're going to have the funding to pay for the ongoing staff that we need in order to do the bare minimum for Whittier Boulevard.
And I, Mayor and Council, I agree with what you're saying in terms of the importance of looking at the entirety of Whittier Boulevard. I think, having gone away and come back and had the City Council both annex a big new area on the west side of town, but also bring in all of Whittier Boulevard from the 605 freeway to the Orange County line. Yes, it's a heavy burden at this point, but it's also a great opportunity. And I mean, I agree with you, having a planning background in my past. I would like to see us do streetscape improvements and things that are going to raise up but not only the aesthetics of the entryway into the city, but bring more value. And I think that's something we can do. I don't know that we necessarily need more staff to do that. I think these would be exciting projects that Ben's team could take on at this point. I think what we need to do is work with the council and get clear direction that this is the path you want to go down. But I know, I know we had people speaking the other day, earlier today, talking about we don't need so many consultants, but we can bring on consultants at a minimal cost to really help guide us on this kind of a streetscape plan. And I think in so doing, will not only show value to the residents there, but also allow us to start bringing up the economics. The last thing I'll say is we do have active programs under Ben's department where we can provide assistance to residents for fixing their roofs if they income qualify, fixing roofs, fixing various things in their homes. The folks that have now been annexed into the city, this is a new benefit they will have under the city of Whittier that they did not have previously being part of the unincorporated county. So we're really excited to reach out to the residents and kind of talk about some of the great things that we offer that perhaps they weren't seeing before, and to take that wherever we can take it.
And my final point on the Whittier Boulevard is, from what Kyle told me, that the actual street is in decent condition, so we took ownership with the decent, but at some point, it's not gonna be. And so, to me, this 16.7 million doesn't seem sufficient if we're responsible for it in perpetuity.
Agreed again, and I think part of what Kyle will tell you is that we do long-range capital improvement programming, and as part of that, we take a look at the condition of that street and how much we think it's going to cost, but also what are the various funding sources. We get gas tax money, we get various revenue sources, and we're in the process now of pulling together a list for the council, because I think that's an important thing for everybody to have, the community included. Here are the funds we get, measure this, proposition that, and we use these to cobble together. Generally, we try to use them first before we touch our own fungible general fund reserves to move forward with these projects. But we will have a good plan on a long period, 5 years, 10 years, of what we think we're going to need to do along the way. And it's both improvements to the road, but also traffic signal synchronization so we can move people more quickly. The work you're seeing at the 5 Points for that Hotspots project is generally grant money we've received, and we want to be able to use these grant monies, leverage more of it in the future. And so we're actively looking for that as funding sources as well. And I don't know if Kyle has anything to add, but
yeah, I think just to Connell's point, some of those things are already underway. Adding that staff has allowed us to do some things with the signals, to upgrade them and make those signals synchronized, already to bring improvements. And we have some strategies and some ideas on things that we can pursue along with Metro and Caltrans as they're working on the 605 and as we talk with those entities as well. So I think there's a lot to come on this one, not just the 16.7, but as that whole gateway area. That really was the impetus for taking over Whittier Boulevard, and I think there's a lot more to come on that one.
Okay, so Mr. Mayor, if I could request that we get a timeline on the plan, on when we're going to get a plan for Whittier Boulevard, and so we can have a better idea, and we can answer constituents who are asking and desperately wanting some revitalization along that corridor, so we can provide something to them to say, like, obviously we can't, there's no plan now, right? There's no plan for Whittier Boulevard as of today.
if you're talking about, sorry, Mayor and Council, if you're talking in terms of major improvements, no, there are sections where we are doing work. So a lot of the construction that folks have seen and perhaps been frustrated by at 5 Points, it's for a good reason. It's allowing us to improve the traffic flow. So we have isolated projects where you'll see work being done at Painter, you'll see work being done at 5 Points. But we do not have a broad master plan for the entire boulevard or certainly the west end. If that's something the council is talking about, we'd be happy to sit down and start formulating a plan to do that in the near future. Absolutely.
Thank you. And my final, for real, final. If there's any other ongoing costs that are paid for by interest, can you please highlight them as we go along so that we can also just be very transparent about some of the costs, the way we're funding things? Thank you.
Most definitely.
Mr. Mayor, may I weigh in on what Vicki was talking about?
Yes, you may.
I think that's a great suggestion as far as a written master plan. And just to add a little bit of context, the fact that we were able to receive Whittier Boulevard from the state, I kind of see that as step one of a master plan. And Kyle, I remember when you all were doing the negotiating for what they were going to pay the city, I think the state's initial offering was much, much lower than the 16 million. And so I think at the time we were pleased that you were able to get that figure up to the 16 million.
Yeah, they started at 2 years ago, and it went to 4, and then when we started, it was 8, and then we ended up at 20, and then we settled on 16.7.
Yeah,
So
I love your idea, and Connell, whenever you could, I'd support Vicki's suggestion of a written master plan, and it may be developed in pieces because they're, like you say, the work at Norwalk Boulevard, the work at Washington Boulevard, Painter, all of that factors into that master plan for Whittier Boulevard. So maybe just starting to put those pieces on paper and then bring it, as Vicki suggested, to us for a discussion.
Yeah, it's something
I would be supportive of that.
It's something I'd like to come back and talk to you about as part of a broader economic development strategy. I mean, I've had a lot of thoughts about this, and we've spoken internally with the staff, Ben's department, Kyle, Yolanda, and I. I think there are some things that we could do, especially at this point in time, to hopefully position us. The world is changing very quickly now. There's a lot of things happening, and I think we need to be in a position to study where it's going to be in the next 5 years as opposed to where it is right now. Because by the time we generally adopt something, the things we were looking at are in the rearview mirror as opposed to in front of us. So, this is something that I would want to bring. I might wind up bringing you something bigger than what you are envisioning right now, but I do think it's important for us to talk about that.
Okay. I just want to add that we're clear that your request for a timeline and a master plan is honored and that we see that. Okay. I haven't forgotten you. I just wanted to turn it over to you.
I understand the concern about the use of reserve funds, because I do understand that those are called reserved because they have a very clear purpose to them. And certainly I'm in favor of just planning. I think that a lot of what happened in terms of decision-making was, like Topsy just grew, and there was no necessarily context to everything. And I think that as we identify parts of the city that need that, because I have a list of things that I think we need to start planning. I think that will be an improvement for the city, for the staff, and definitely for the residents. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And as you're right, Whittier Boulevard runs through the whole city. So there isn't any district that isn't impacted by it. I also want to point out that in a later slide, we have a very large general fund balance. And so I understand that at this point, we're being very conservative, and we are using the money from the reserved, which are only reserved because the previous council decided they were. But I want us to also be very conscious of the fact that we have a very large general fund reserve, and that there may be, again, one-time costs for specific projects that we would need to be looking at. I don't want anything to be sacrosanct. I want to have a clear understanding of why we are using money, and this is for everybody. But I don't want us to hesitate in perhaps taking a measured risk and spending some money for the long term. What we're doing now I see as a short-term thing. I don't think that it's necessarily going to set a pattern. My understanding from the staff is that it is because this is a situation that we are in now, and that as we go through this budget and as the future budgets are prepared, that this is not going to be the norm, that we are going to be looking at ongoing costs and how do we fund the ongoing costs. So I appreciate all the questions, especially since numbers are not my greatest strength, but I'm pretty good with millions, and I'm pretty good at overview. And I really appreciate the rest of the slideshows that we're going to see, because I think that some of the concerns that have been raised by the public will be answered in them, and so that perhaps some misinformation can be corrected. That's it.
Because of my prior briefing and the thorough questions of my colleagues, I'd like to proceed.
Thank you. All right, this slide is just putting in more perspective. Here is the comparison between 25-26 general fund adopted budget and the proposed 26-27 proposed budget. Total revenue is estimated to increase by $5 million or 5%. As for expenditure, employee service costs is increased by 5.4. 1.4 is attributed to the increase is unfunded accrued liability related to pension, increasing worker comp premium liability, as well as increasing employee service costs related to the newly negotiated obligation with various labor group. Maintenance and operation increased by 1.2 million or 4%. Transfer and non-operating expenditure decrease is mainly due to decrease by 2.9 million or almost $3 million is mainly due to the various one-time capital funded projects that was approved in fiscal year 25-26. 1.5 is related to the Palm Park locker rooms and upgrading to emergency operation centers and so forth. Now, this slide is just to, thank you, Council Pacheco. This is really touch on our fund balance and reserve to really showcase you that, you know, the slide, the general fund estimated unrestricted available fund balance by end of fiscal year 2027 is estimated at $101.3 million, which equal to 85% of operating expenditure or 10-month worth of expenses. Now, the standard for the Government Finance Office Association recommended most local government to have about 60 days of operating expenditures or revenue in the reserve. And what we have been able to save and build is well above that. What this means is that this healthy reserve will buy us time in case there's a financial crisis or one of our major revenue is underperformed substantially. Now here, the next few slides is talking about the unfunded accrued liability, addressing pension cost. This slide shows your unfunded accrued liability year over year. The orange line show you the original UAL balance of what would have been before the council took direction on issuing a $133 million pension obligation bond back in 2021. With a historical low interest rate of 2.6%, with a cumulative saving of about $90 million. The bond is 25 years bond. Now, the blue line here, it shows you a sharp decline in pension liability UAL is due to the issuance of the pension obligation bond, as I mentioned earlier. The bond issuance is essentially allowing us to restructure our debts with extremely low interest rate and help provide a more structured debt service payment, and also allow us to have a more stable budgeting future forecast for these UAL obligations. Now, this is showing you your 5-year UAL payment of what would have been the UAL payment had the city not issued the pension obligation bond in the blue column compared to the current bond payment along with the UAL payment in the purple column. If you're looking at fiscal year 26-27, there is a budgetary saving of $6.4 million. This is really to emphasize you that issuing the bond allow us to have more leverage on our cash flow needs and for other operating expenses within the city without placing a heavy strain on our available resources. Now, for the major revenue trend, which we receive our projected forecast from our consultant HDL, as I mentioned earlier, they are the expert in property tax, sales tax. As you can see, the trend line here has been slowly trending upward for our major revenue with no major fluctuation. This shows us that our major revenue is stable, reliable, and unless there's a major change in the current economic condition, we shouldn't expect much fluctuation. So it helps us with budgeting and forecasting. The next couple slides touch on the city-wide revenue and expenses, not just the general fund. So for city-wide revenue, it is projected to be at $204.4 million, which general fund make up 56% of the pie chart, followed by enterprise fund, which is your water, your sewer, solid waste disposal, then internal service fund. Special revenue fund is your gas tax, Measure R, Measure M, Prop A, Prop C that we receive from LA Metro. All the other fund estimated revenue to be at $8.5 million, which is mainly due to the debt service fund that we are charging all the other fund to pay for the debt service principal and interest payment. Citywide expenditure is forecast to be at $215.7 million, which 55% is from the general fund, followed by enterprise fund, internal service funds, special revenue funds, and your debt service, capital projects, and housing authority, which is all grouped under the other funds. Now, this slide focuses on the general fund sources of how we able to get revenue from. As you can see that the total general fund revenue is projected to be at $114.5 million. Largely come from sales tax, sales and use tax, from Measure W tax, property tax, followed by all the other revenues and charges for services. So this has been consistent with what we have been budgeted in the previous years. Now, this is where the general fund dollar goes to, and it breaks down by different department and division. Majority goes to public safety. Total expenditure is budgeted at $118.1 million, or net of reserve, $114.5 million. Majority go to public safety, followed by park, recreation, and community services, general services, and public works. The next few slides here cover the Measure W funding. As you're aware that the Measure W was passed in 2021, and the city is very fortunate that the community's support behind the passage of Measure W. As we expect to receive about $14 million for budget year 2027, this here to show you that we intend to spend our Measure W funding for fiscal year 27. And the ballot measure has put here to really just remind us that what the community has voted for. Majority goes to public safety, followed by park, maintenance, and community services to run our program. Staff time for homeless, cleanup. $1.3 million will go into public work crews to better provide services, maintenance throughout the cities, and the remainder goes toward general services to support the community. Now, this slide shows you that Measure W funding ongoing, not just a one-time support. It continue to fund the police, the patrol, PD operational system equipments, concrete crew, asphalt crews, park and recreation community services, extended family programs, additional homeless services, and public relation outreach efforts. So this wrapped up my presentation, and I'll pause you if there's any question.
We'll start here with Mary Ann.
I did write it down. The contract with Santa Fe Springs, if I read the numbers correctly, the city was actually subsidizing part of that contract. We weren't making money off of it. Is that accurate?
Mayor and council, at one point, yes. The contract has been trued up and is currently, you're talking about the Santa Fe Springs policing contract. Currently, they are paying the actual true cost, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of $15 million for the current year we're in, projected to go to a little over $16 million for next fiscal year.
Okay, so basically, the contract being canceled by the city of Santa Fe Springs doesn't have a positive or a negative immediate impact on the budget, because it sounds like it was, what we put in and what they paid was a zero-sum game. Is that accurate?
What they are paying for the true cost of the services, and as we begin to unwind exactly what this means, they will continue to pay for those services on a go-forward basis. They have indicated 22 months that they want to remain paying the contract, so at a minimum for the next 22 months, we will be receiving 100% of the revenue needed to pay for the cost of that service.
Okay, I'm just, the reason I'm asking is because I've heard both sides out of the community that the city's going to be losing huge chunks of money. And then I also heard the other one, no, the city's going to be gaining huge chunks of money. But it sounds like, at least on the books, I know that the services will change, but I know that on the books, in terms of the funds, it's pretty much a wash for the next 2 years, right?
Absolutely. At this point in time, we are not panicking in any way, shape, or form, because we are continuing to receive the cost of providing those services. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take a few months for us to sit down, work out exactly what this means, and in terms of the contract and the separation with Santa Fe Springs, and we will work closely with them to make sure we're doing that. So we'll have a report back to the council in the coming months on exactly where we are, what that means, and then a plan as we move forward. We'll be working with the chief. At this point in time, internally, we see it as a great opportunity to kind of reimagine how we provide policing services to the city of Whittier. So we're excited to move forward in a new direction, and I believe the police department staff are as well.
Yeah, I agree that it does offer a window of opportunity that we might not have otherwise. It's just that the information that went out was simply that the contract is being terminated. And once you hear that, you get all kinds of imagination going. There was something wrong with what the city of Whittier was doing. There's something wrong with what the city of Santa Fe Springs expected. And so I just want to make sure that at least on the budgetary level, the business transaction, if you will, part, that there's no plus or minus either way. I see, in terms of the services to be developed, actually, chances for real pluses on that one. But it's very easy to start conjuring things up of why did this happen? And I think at this point, the response is it happened, and now we have an opportunity to look at overall policing and those services that can be provided. Because I know a lot of people have been talking about additional services along the Greenway Trail in Uptown Whittier, looking at the changing nature of gangs and gang activities in the city of Whittier. So I see that it's really an opportunity. I guess I'm asking because there's so much confusion and misinformation about what the cancellation of the contract means and the basis for it. I just want to make sure that it's clear to the members of the public that there is no immediate fiscal impact, but that it will have a possible impact on additional services for the city of Whittier.
In a positive way is what you're saying.
Yes.
And I do want to, I think that's a very important point. I was the one who was handed the letter by the city manager in Santa Fe Springs, and the comments made to me that it had nothing to do with the services being provided by the city of Whittier Police Department, but rather the fact that they want to start their own police department. which is completely understandable. We wish them the very best. We've had a great relationship with Santa Fe Springs as our neighboring city for many, many decades. We want to make sure that that continues. We're very proud of the work that the men and women of the Whittier Police Department do and have brought to them. And again, this has nothing to do with our level of service. It has everything to do with the fact that they believe that the time is right for them to stand up their own police department. And we certainly support them if that's the direction they want to go. And the chief can answer any more questions this evening if there's any direct questions about what that might mean to the police department. But we're excited to move forward.
Thank you for that clarification as to what the city was told about the cancellation of the contract. Okay, that was my question. It was a very convoluted and complex one, but it really was only one question.
It was a good question. We'll start with Vicki and go down.
Okay, so I warned you guys to ask a lot of questions, so I'm going to try to not ask a lot of questions, but there might be a lot of questions. So on the first slide, we do see that there's a deficit. There was a deficit in the adopted budget, 1.3 million, and then, but we're still seeing an increase forecasted deficit of 1.4, so a slight increase. My son, who's a budget guru, says it's a rounding thing. So, but still, people don't like, and I don't like deficits. I don't want to come into a deficit in my first budget. How are we gonna cover that 1.4 million based on projections? Even though it's modest. It was the first one, no?
I think you're page.
That one,
Here.
yes.
Okay, yes. So as I mentioned earlier, from now to when I actually close the book is still a couple months, and obviously with us actually closing the book, it's a big effort on finance and accounting team to really actually close the book and see where we ended up finishing. What I forecast is very conservative, and it remain conservative until we actually close the book. I won't actually know how much it is, but so far, our spending is in line with what originally budgeted for.
So assuming that your projections are accurate, how will we pay for that, for any deficit, whether it's 1.4 or any amount?
Now, if we ended up with a deficit, that will come out of fund balance, which is essentially our saving.
Okay, so I do commend the city for having such a large fund balance. It is very significant. I think it's a full year of operating, which, is great. I mean, ARPA funds did contribute to that. But my concern is, because it's like our savings account, right? So if our normal bank accounts, if we're always spending more than what comes in, eventually we're going to eat away at our savings account. So even though it's $100 million, it's great, but eventually, right, it's going to add up, especially because we have so many other needs that are one-time costs. So I do have a concern that we have a reliance on that, and I get it. Like, so I guess let me make my bigger point is when I came in and I got briefed on the budget, and I saw the significant increases in our negotiated contracts and the increases to staff salaries, I thought that, everything was great. We have a lot of money. We're projecting a lot of money. And so it was a little sobering for me to see that that's not quite true. So while I appreciate, our police officers and everything they do, and I know we still have to continue to negotiate with our city staff, I am concerned that, so again, we need to grow. So now we're committed, and I understand that there's, we're in a contract now, and we have to respect the contract. However, I will be asking questions. How are we going to be able to afford that? Because if already we're coming in, and maybe it's a rounding error, maybe it's not, but at the long run, and we're seeing a significant increase in our own ongoing employee costs, salary costs, that at some point, right, there's going to be a reckoning that we have to come to, and I don't want to cut anything. I am coming in wanting to do amazing things and to, create and, of course, honor the service of our employees and everything that they do, but that's, so I'm just a little concerned that this is how it is on paper, and I'm hoping that we can increase revenue, but as even in the memo, we're tied to what happens in the rest of the country, and everybody's tightening their belts with the cost of living just in general going up. So I don't know what the plan is.
That's a very good question, and I will tell you, we've talked about this, I think, privately, each of you. As a non-accountant, it is difficult for me at times to really understand how the system works for accountants and especially auditors. Now, remember, Tram has an auditor background, which is even worse than an accountant, in a good way.
That's true.
And I mean that in the most,
You said with loving.
with the most loving way, because she is uber conservative. So I think the big challenge here, and the reason why Tram sometimes has difficulty with this, is because she's not really going to know what our current year budget that ends June 30th is going to look like till probably November. And it's because she's not going to make a statement until she has a stamped auditor number, which means the auditors have to go in there and bless the books. In that time, what we generally find, and Tram, correct me if I'm wrong, is that being so conservative, we spend less than we say we're going to spend, and we take in more than we say we're going to take in. So it's generally never as bad as what we project. So that doesn't mean that's, we're not going to necessarily have a problem. What it means is that I think it gets into what we were talking about earlier. There's a two-pronged attack here. Number one is to increase revenue. So we need to be looking at the things that we all agree can bring in revenue to the city, truing up a contract so that we're not subsidizing, making sure that we're getting paid a fair day's wage for a fair day's work as anybody else in the world would. But then also talking about what we're spending. It's our hope that having a fully staffed police department right now means less overtime. That means we're spending less overtime money doing those things. And one of the things that Yolanda and Kyle and I have been talking about for a few months now is looking at the overall operation and seeing with fresh eyes, how are we doing this? Why are we doing it this way? Do we need to really apply the resources here, or can we pull back on that and do them there? Overtime being a big part of it. I want to be sensitive to Tram's need to be conservative, because the worst thing we can do is make rosy projections and then come back to you and say, boy, we told you we were going to make 100 and we only made 80. I don't think you're going to see that. And so I don't want to press too hard on her to say, well, wait a minute, last year's numbers showed this. Why are we projecting less? She's doing it just because she's very conservative. The frustrating part is, unfortunately, we have to be patient and wait till see how it actually works out. But along the way, my personal strategy will be to focus on those two areas. What are we bringing in and what are we spending, and how do we bring those into alignment with the goal of making sure that we balance a little better and we're in a position to be able to do the things that I think this council is going to want to do in terms of good projects for the public.
I agree. Thank you for that. And the other thing is that, I think Measure W I support Measure W. I think it was great, and I appreciate what we're spending it on. I would like more detail on how we're spending it. I think that's important to be, this is too high level. Some people may appreciate it, but I'm a little bit more detailed than that. So I'd like to see exactly what's, and to see how, maybe we cover more expenses from the police department, out of Measure W, which looks stable and it looks like it's growing, so that way the reliance on the general fund gets reduced. I had a point. Let me think. So I just want to make sure, so I know what the point was. So there were talks publicly that the council may consider giving rebates back to Measure W. And I feel like at this time, given this information, that, that's not going to be possible. So I just want to be clear on that point, that, giving back money to the taxpayer, to the person who purchases things, is not going to be a possibility.
I will tell you, you know, you asked me the other day, what is my philosophy on budgeting? And we talked a bit about that. And I think the first thing I said was it's important for us to make sure we use our money to do things for the residents that they want us to do. In terms of a rebate, if we gave 90,000 people $1, that's $90,000. I personally would rather spend that $90,000 on something that creates something for the public to use. I think that's just my own personal philosophy, but I'm with you in the sense that we should always be thinking about the public first. It is their money. I mean, it's their property tax, their sales tax, their Measure W. When they order something on Amazon, we are getting that. And you know, we're very lucky to have a community that supported us in adoption of Measure W and voting for it. And I do think, you know, over the coming year, I am looking forward to working with the council on the things that you guys want to do and to be able to deliver projects to the community that are not only going to take care of the things they want right now, but help us grow as a community in terms of economics so that we have a constant, steady stream coming in. I would love to see the day that we're super funded in our unfunded accrued liability. I would love to see the day when we're able to do all those things. The more we're able to check those boxes, the more discretionary funds you're going to have to be able to take care of projects in the community that folks really, really want. So you have my commitment that we'll work together on that, and we'll do it in a way that engages the public and hopefully shows people that we're serious about delivering projects for them that are going to make their lives better. That's really our job.
And I don't want to balance our budget on their backs either. I don't want to end up increasing everything that we provide to the public because our projection, you know, we've committed future general fund. I do, but to your point about engaging the community, I would love for us to take our budget presentation on the road between now and finalizing our budget, and maybe we could do one per district or, you know, combine them or something. But I do think that in the spirit of transparency, and you're looking like, you know, I do feel that we need to be transparent. I mean, Measure W did come, it has saved us, and we're able to do more. The bond for our pension obligations saved us, and that was all done by the taxpayer. So I do think we owe a duty to our residents to just tell them and hear from them, because I can tell you what I want and what I've heard, but I didn't talk to every single resident in District 2. So I would love to sit down and, you know, make this a more inclusive development of the budget. I mean, this is not my budget. I'm understanding it. You know, it's not our budget. But we have to. I understand we have to live with the decisions of the previous council, because that's when we got sworn in. That's what we decided. That's what the role we took on. But I do think that whatever it looks like, and I'll leave it to you to decide. But I do feel that we need to add a community component to it so that we can listen. And I think listening is good, and I think it would help in general for the community to feel heard. And just like you saw today, we listened and we respected them, and it ended.
And I mean, I appreciate you looking at my face. I'm not, I think my only concern is the amount of time that would take to do a rollout like that might make it impossible for TRAM to actually return in a month with the document. And obviously, to make it clear to the public, we're required by law to adopt this by the end of the fiscal year, which would be the end of June. Mm-hmm. I do think that we could probably put information on our webpage, which would be, you know, a step in that direction to be transparent and put some information up there about what exactly is going on. And you would certainly have my commitment for next year. If we wanted to start this process a little earlier, we could definitely, I mean, it's going to require the TRAM start a few weeks earlier, but perhaps we start thinking about this council meeting in April, and as part of that, we do a community meeting, or however many that you would want. We're just going to need to have a clear idea of what the council wants to do. I think it would be fine to have a community meeting, and we're happy to go in that direction. I think, you know, the budget is quite often a scary thing because you're dealing with big numbers and you're dealing with micro details, and I've always believed that if I can't explain something simplistically to people so that they understand where their money is going and what they're getting for it, I'm not doing a very good job, so we would look forward to that challenge. And I'm happy to work with the council in deciding how we want to do that, for the coming year, but we would commit to that.
And I'm fine with that because I do understand and so to that point, I would love a timeline of the next steps that the council will have to take in order to finalize the budget and what we hear back, and make that transparent too, so that people can come and listen, or make sure that they calendar it so as we're or pay attention from when it's going on and on Channel 3, so that way they can be present in their own way and listen and engaged, and let us know.
At a bare minimum, we can set on our homepage, landing page, this video of this event. We can put our documents up on there. We can put a schedule talking about what we need to be doing and why and when per state law, and we can have that as a very bare minimum. We can probably get that done in a very small period of time and have that ready to go for the public. So yeah, we're happy to do that.
Thank you.
And I just want to echo my colleague's request for that information for the public. One of my concerns has to do with the way that we display the information for Measure W. And I asked Trem about this earlier, but I see the allocation in the chart, but I don't see, for example, how that money was spent in the last year. And I understand that it's rolled into the general fund. But I do think it's important to figure out, I don't know, I'm not an accountant, but figure out a system where we can tell the public next year or the next budget, this is how much came in for Measure W, this is what was spent from that earmarked amount, because I think that goes back to transparency and accountability to the public. They passed this measure, they supported this measure, and people want to know, where is that going exactly? And is that reconciled with what we're spending? And so I would like to see that next year to actually separate it out from the general fund. And I know that it's an extra step, and I know that it's a different level of accounting, but I do think it's a way for us to stay accountable to the public on Measure W. And I think it's important, just exactly the way that you put on there what the purpose and the intent of Measure W was, that we continue to show the public that we're actually using that money for that purpose. And so that's my main concern on the Measure W stuff, just to have that clear. Thank you.
Kathy?
And yes, thank you. And following up on Measure W in regards to the slide on page 14, if I'm following my colleague's comments and if I understand correctly, I don't see a total on the pie chart. So I'm assuming that if there were a total of these different components, that might be helpful. And I'm assuming that that would show us the total amount of Measure W money that came in a year. I do appreciate having the background. Additional detail is always good, but I appreciate those general categories, and I really appreciate having the ballot language right next to, so that our public folks know that this is what we voted for and this is what we're getting. They see exactly one for the other. I too would like to follow up just a little bit on your slide 4. For the proposed budget and the deficit that my colleague was speaking about earlier, just to make sure I understand this correctly, the 3637 is the proposed or anticipated deficit without using the reserves?
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
and then the reserves that would be used to eventually adopt a balanced budget for 26-27 would come from the two funds that previously have been set aside as reserves to help backfill deficits, correct?
Yes, that's
Okay, so then theoretically, if the council determines at that final June meeting that everyone is supportive of the budget, then it would be with the understanding that we'd be using money from ARPA funds, set aside reserves, and the PERS funds, PERS reserves funds, to balance the budget, but then the actuals, we don't really see until, like Connell said, November after, like November of '28, I guess, we wouldn't really see the actual final. So, and I think it's cool that you're an auditor.
Thank you.
Thank you, that's it.
Again, because of prior briefing and the thorough comments of my colleagues, let's move forward.
All right, so the next, so that pretty much wrap up my presentation for tonight. What we present to you also in the binder is really the budget memo for you to give us additional blessing. This is not a part of the proposed budget, but it's just additional item for your consideration and for your approval in section J.
I don't have that slide, but
So in
No, it's
the
not a
binder,
slide.
there's
It's
section J
It's in your book.
in the binder.
okay.
It's at the end, it says, budget memo.
I'm just gonna hold on to this. Okay, Pam, thank you.
J, section J of the book.
Got it.
And at the end, it has
Okay.
how there are some projects that came in for additional funding.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, any final questions, and Vicky?
Well, how do we get things on Exhibit J for the future?
Are you saying, how do you add things to?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to direct that, I'm going to allow the mayor to handle that question. And I think it's really, this would be the opportunity this evening. I think what I would recommend, Mayor, if I may be so bold, is to have the staff go through their presentations on the various departments, and then the council decide with the mayor how you want to have the conversation go as soon as we've provided that information. I think it should be around 5 minutes or less for each department, and we can move through that quickly to allow you guys to have some time to talk about that.
Okay. Did you want to add to that, Mary Ann?
I need to ask, this is a point of personal privilege, because I'm not feeling well. And so I want to know how much longer I need to stay here, or I have a whole list of things I want.
I love it.
If I don't last however long it goes, and I'm not able to be here for when we're talking about additional projects, I want to know, how do I get on the list that my colleagues have already developed? And at what point are we going to talk about that list? Because I have at least 5 that can be broken down into subsections. And I mean, I can appreciate an overview of that, and it may just be because I'm not feeling well, but just for me to go through all the stuff that I want is going to take a long time, because we haven't had a chance to talk about that with each other in any kind of a setting. So I have very definite ideas of what I want in District 1. And I just need to know a time set, because I really am genuinely not feeling well. And I don't want to be not totally present to the discussion when we get to that point. With all respect to the staff, you know, I want to hear all the cool things that you guys are doing. But in terms of the business of the council, if I can't be here, I want to know how I can do it. See, and my voice is shaking because I'm really not feeling well.
No,
Can
I
I
think
just
I
clarify what I asked? I mean, I didn't expect to pull it out now because I really don't have a list. I was really just asking as a procedural question. So perhaps, Mr. Mayor, you could, like, we could give direction overall, and then for these types of requests, we could come back, because we're meeting again next week, and maybe during that time, we can get parameters of what, or we can provide you, Connell, the information that, and then, because I mean, there should be a process. I was just asking what's the, I didn't think I was gonna create a list now and it was gonna get in there. I wanted to, seriously wanted to know what the process was.
Well, if we could defer that for whatever we do for next week, and I hope I'm thinking more clearly, I just would greatly appreciate it.
Well, Mayor, Council, I mean, we can certainly forego these brief presentations and allow you guys to have that conversation now. And then if there's time, we can start again with the presentations, or, I mean, however you want to do it.
I would like to have a discussion at a future meeting.
I
And I
just wanna
really
say
would like
that,
to have the discussion at a future meeting. I do want to respect the staff's time, and I really do want to hear, because I may think of more things I want. And it's just that the kind of thoughtful time and energy that I would want to devote to that kind of really visioning kind of thing of what we want as council members for the city. I would prefer if we just took some time just to do that at some point.
No, I understand your request, so.
But it's whatever my colleagues want, I'm fine with it, but I'm just sharing with you how I'm feeling right now.
And thank you, but, council, do we need a motion for that? Or how?
It really, I'm sorry.
I know it's.
You're muted.
My button's not working, but no, you don't need a formal motion.
Okay, so.
I just wanted to say that I agree with Councilmember Pacheco that we can put those motion or our wish list together in the next meeting. I also want to just uplift some of the comments from the public today that I do think we need to slow down the process as much as possible for the benefit of the public and also for the benefit of, us who are new to the budget process. I think there's no rush, although I know we have to adopt the budget by June 30th. So I agree with Councilmember Pacheco that, we let the directors finish their presentations, and at the next meeting, maybe we start the discussion about our wish list, and I leave it up to the mayor in terms of the timeline and procedures. Thank you.
Okay, so this is, I want to proceed correctly here. So we're going to table, is it the balance of what was intended for this evening? No.
Well, Mayor, I think if I'm understanding the discussion right now, we would proceed with what we have for you this evening in terms of a presentation. If there are any remaining questions at the end of the night that the council wants to take on, we can certainly answer them. And then what we would probably do is continue this item 1 week to the May 12th meeting, and we would make this the first thing we talk about, and or wherever it falls on the agenda. And at that point, the council conversations about things that you might want to add would be at that point when you can have a more robust conversation about it.
So then we can proceed then with the department presentations. Yes, sir. Okay. So following this, I believe it's community development that's next.
Indeed it is. Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Ben Pongetti, Director of Community Development. Pleased to be before you tonight for the first time as a newly seated council. My department is relatively small but mighty, I like to say. We're 23 total people, 4 of whom are part-time. As Tram indicated, we make up only 4% of the city's budget, so there's some heavy hitters down on that end, and one here sitting next to me. Our department is not one of those, but we do have a pretty strong impact on the future in terms of development, and those are some of the things I want to share with you tonight a little bit. I do have in the audience with me a couple of our members, one representing the planning group within our department and economic development and housing. We also have building and safety, those 3 entities under my department. And the primary goal of what we do is helping property owners, helping contractors, helping developers, helping design professionals go from rendering to reality, right? Renderings start out, they look like this. I know the mayor served for a while on our Historic Resource Commission. He's very familiar with renderings, but we turn those renderings into reality with the help, of course, of the development partners that we're working with. But here are 4 projects that we wanted to share with you real quickly. I'm sure you've seen these around town. Lara's on the top left. It's a 24-unit townhome project coming into Uptown. The foundations are poured, and it will be coming out of the ground very soon. It's one of the first larger-scale housing projects in Uptown, so we're happy to see that actually moving forward. PIH Health is in the upper right. That's a new 112,000 square foot medical office building. It's actually a concrete tilt-up building. So next week on the 14th and 15th, you're going to see 3-story walls go from flat to 3-story as they get tilted up over the course of 2 days. So you'll see where there's no building now, there'll be a building late next week. On the left side there, at the bottom, is the Olson Group's project called Uptown Walk. It's a 40-unit townhome project being constructed just across the street from the courthouse. Again, they've got one building in the air. It's topped out. They're going to put a roof on it relatively soon. And the bottom right is ADU templates. So we've got 12 different ADU templates that folks are able to use. We finally had a few applicants that have begun using those, and I have those in the next slide for you. So these are those same projects just being brought to reality. Again, that's what they look like on paper when we began, and this is what they look like on the ground now, all being developed. Our inspectors go out there very frequently during the course of the construction, making sure all that rebar is just set up perfectly, all the framing is done correctly, the footings are poured correctly, all that good stuff, the plumbing, electrical, mechanical, all those good things. Some of our accomplishments. Over the last few years, we have adopted a new general plan, a new development code, and we have a state certified housing element. So we're compliant on all those fronts. And again, that was over the course of the last few years. Just in terms of some of the accomplishments we make on an annual basis, there's some year-to-date numbers here for you. We help about 35 to 40 people a day in our department, about 7,500 people over the course of the year-to-date. But you can see some of the metrics in the planning group. They've worked on 86 ADUs, 714 development reviews at the counter, 101 development reviews that have been taken in, 8 HRC, and the mayor will remember some of these probably, but the HRC Certificate of Appropriateness. Some other metrics up there, including CUPs and multifamily projects and some tentative track maps. So there's a few of the metrics there. Again, I said inspections. Some of our inspectors are out there daily walking those sites, particularly the PIH project. They need to go out there every day because of the size and scope of that project. The inspectors out there daily. Again, we're pretty proud of those ADU templates. We're just having those uptaken now by the public. That one is under construction there on the bottom right. So that's nice to see. That's the first one out of the gate. The lady's really happy with it and sharing with the community the photos and things. So we have, over the last several years, scanned a ton of permits. So we have most of that stuff online now for the public. We're actually hitting the mark of a little over 60% of our permits that are issued in our department are online now entirely. So a contractor, a homeowner, to pull a water heating permit, you no longer need to come into City Hall and waste your time. You can do that from the comfort of your own home. So I've made a big push into that space with Rigo's team's help over the last, Rigo of course handles our IT operation, but with Rigo's help over the last several years. We also handle about $1.4 million in HUD grants and what we call PLHA, or Permanent Local Housing Allocation. Some of that money gets used, and I think Connell mentioned earlier, but we did 15 loans last year, invested about $700,000 in low-income property owners' properties, putting new roofs on, new paint, new stucco. Sometimes they'll rebuild a kitchen, a bathroom, give that new economic life to that unit. And then, of course, we do liaison activities with the Whittier Chamber, the Uptown Whittier Improvement Association, and the Whittier Uptown Association. Trying to stick to 5 minutes. I know I'm going fast. There'll be time for questions at the end. Largely for next fiscal year, we're not changing many things in terms of our budget. We're staying the course, making minor adjustments to kind of conform the budget to what it's looked like over the last 3-year period. A couple of big pushes here that I should mention quickly is we do need, I know there was some mention about the annexation that happened out on Whittier Boulevard. That was approved by the city a year and a half ago now. But we did, as a part of that, assume 750 new RHNA units, the Regional Housing Needs Allocation. So we need to amend our housing element at some point to accommodate those additional units. And then again, pushing into that digital space to allow additional online permit submittals, just to make it easier for development to occur and property owners to make improvements to their property. Just in terms of some metrics, and then I'll pass it off to my colleague down here on the end at the library, trying to stick to my 5 minutes. But last year we issued a total of about 2,400 permits. So pretty significant activity. Again, about 7,500 people coming into our department through this course of the year. And we've issued about 1,925 permits year to date. And that's just about 1% behind last year. So we're right on track with what our expectations are. And again, each one of those permits generates a little bit of permit revenue for the city. And so my department is both the revenue generator and, of course, we've got expenses with our employee service costs and consultants that we use. Every year we've got to fill out something called the annual progress report. You just missed that going before the council. That one in March. It's due to the state every April 1st, so we just submitted it. But it did show that we permitted 91 units last year, 91 housing units, 86 of which were ADUs. So that's the new ADU rules are really working in the city, and that's been the bulk of our housing production over the last few years. With that, I'll ask if you have any further questions of me. I'm more than happy to try to answer them. If not, I will pass it off to our librarian.
Thank you, Ben. Hello, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. My name's Jack. I am lucky enough to work for the Whittier Public Library. And the library is, our mission is to connect people to knowledge, to ideas, and then again to one another. So really, we're all about access, a safe space where you can share your ideas, you can use our makerspace, you can get together with community. We're comprised of 2 locations. Here's the Central Library and the Whitwood branch. And we also have a bookmobile, 20 full-time staff members, and many more part-time staff members. A lot of our programs are put together with grants that our librarians write throughout the year. A big one is the Lunch at the Library. This year, we gave out 1,479 meals, and 2,683 books were distributed for kids and other folks to start their libraries at home. The Lunch at the Library program is great because we don't ask for income verification, registration, or applications. Anybody under 18 can come and get lunch at the library. There's a number of grants that you see here that we apply for every year. A big one is the California Parks Passes and Adventure Backpacks. You can check one of those out. My favorite is the Zip Book grant that helps us with our collection development and helps patrons get books right to their doorstep, and then they bring them back and we catalog them. So a few of our accomplishments are that our librarians and other outreach staff have met with 2,000 plus readers for our summer reading club last year. 2,000 plus students were reached with our mobile bookmobile and TK classrooms. Our makerspace usage doubled because we opened up a makerspace at the branch library. We had over 150 attendees at our Veterans Resource Fair, and many more at our after-hours programs. And a lot of this is because our staff make partners throughout the community. So our foundation, our Whittier Public Library Foundation collaborations brings authors and events. There's one on Thursday. Friends of the Library sells books. Assistance League helps us with our summer reading club program. National Charity League helps out every now and then. We are one of the only libraries that have an LA County Department military Veterans Affairs officer that is at our library helping our veterans. We partner with Whittier City School District, East Whittier City School District, and we were very excited to reach 10,000 Instagram followers because that shows the community what we do. We completed our capital project, the Central Library renovation, by installing that monument with QR codes that go to our website. And we just started our adult literacy program. So those 10,000 followers helped us go viral last year and early this year. Our children's librarian went on Telemundo in your neighborhood and through Vecindario News Spotlight, and she talked about our Read to the Dog program and how reading to the dogs helps children build confidence by providing a calm, non-judgmental audience, encouraging them to practice and feel more comfortable reading. The program has been recognized for highlighting the library's meaningful role in supporting literacy and social emotional development in the Whittier community. The Veterans Resource Center, we were one of 5 in the state to start this over 11 years ago, and we're happy with this program. Our programs for children and family, I'd like to highlight our new program, Bilingual Storytime. We do Young Readers Advisory. We do STEM programs with our collaboration with Whittier College's Science Circus, family film nights, themed crafts, play and learn time. That was a grant from the state. And we continue to do programs with teens and adults. We have a teen advisory board, volunteer opportunities for teens. We also do passports and passport photos. We are doing more digital financial literacy programs. And then just our numbers this year, we have a little over 84,000 card holders from all over the city and LA County. We have 190,000 visits a year to the library, about 2,000 over 2,000 volunteer hours, 900 drop-ins to the makerspace. We do tours of the library. We issued 3,200 passports and 700 drop-ins for veterans. And that's about it. I'm going to pass it over to Virginia, unless you have questions.
I don't believe so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bear with me and this clicker. But good evening, everyone. And I know my 5 minutes is precious, so here we go. Okay, so we're going to start first with some of the accomplishments that we've had in our Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Department. And it's a big and mighty team, and we work really hard to stay connected with the community and offer as many services as we can. Even if they didn't think they wanted it, we're going to give it a try and move it forward. So we began with our groundbreaking for the Parnell Park project. And this was a project that has been on all of our vision board since we got into the positions that we're currently in now, and 3 members of the team are back there behind me to support all of this. And we had this little vision board flip chart that had Parnell Park and what are we going to do, and we had these little circles that I'm going to miss Publisher is going away, so we got to learn something new, but we made this little chart that connected 3 rings that we didn't even know where they came from or how they began, but we wanted this playground system to be connected so the kids could move from playground to playground, and it grew into this amazing project that we have moving forward right now. So we're really excited that we're able to break ground. We are also excited about the Whittier Cruiser, which was a project that was the People Mover. Everybody knew as the People Movers coming to town, and what's that going to be? Well, it turned into the Whittier Cruiser, and it's a pilot program that we're really proud to be able to bring forward to really gather some great information as a pilot program for you to be able to move this, decide, and make a great decision. We have the first half of the year with the cruiser program, we didn't have a fee. The second half of the year, we have a fee in place, and we can't wait to bring that information forward to you so you can make a really good decision on what the data was that we collected, and is it really a service that you want to continue. So we got that off the ground. We added snow to our Cookies with Santa event, and staff got sponsorship to pay for the snow in its entirety. So really proud of the team, but it was really exciting to see. I went down the sled run and to see if it worked myself, and survived it. And so really excited addition. We also approved a new art piece. City Council moved an art piece forward that's going to be on the corner of Whittier Boulevard and Philadelphia that fills a green space there, and it's called Dancing Leaves. And it's going to be a beautiful scene. I have a maquette downstairs if you ever want to see what it's intended to look like in the end. We also moved forward a project of the thinning of the Greenway Trail, green, lush beautifulness that had grown since 2006, and it's almost at completion. We're almost at the end of the trail, and it's really looking beautiful and clear, and I hope Chief is appreciating it and his team as they drive through the Greenway Trail. We also took advantage of Parnell Park being closed, which has typically been the home for our extravaganza event, and we said, let's try to do a different twist to it, and we added a glow extravaganza hunt out at York Field, where we had about 8,000 visitors, and the kids were excited about hunting for eggs in the dark and having them all glow, and I was really proud of the team that incorporated a silent hunt, that's a quiet hunt, so that it was quiet for those that had noise conditions that really triggered things in them to not make it a positive experience. So everything went hush, and the eggs were all glowing, and they just said go, and they gently moved in, some gentler than others, but some just sat. They already had their headphones on, just enjoying their own hunt at their own pace in a quiet, safe space. So I was really excited that the team was able to pull that off. We returned the Whittier Junior Theater. City Council, the previous budget process, approved the return of that program that had been part of our lineup for a really long time, and through changes in staffing and programming, it went away for a bit, but we're excited that it came back at full force. The kids got to learn about the theater, the back end, stage presence, writing a script, props, costumes, and then in the end they created their own performance. So it was really exciting to see all come together, and so we're going to continue those camps and those workshops as we move forward. We also had a successful youth markets that we're really excited about, because it gets people and our youth thinking about business, entrepreneurs, what do they want to do. They create things, they create bracelets, they create all these things that they're able to come to us and ask for a booth because they want to be at this market, and they get a makeshift business license, they get their booth, they get advertisement opportunities with us with flyers, and they're able to share QR codes with their family and friends, and then they get to come and shop at their booths. And so our next one is, the girls gave me the information, on May the 30th. It opens up, doors open up at 10 a.m. at our community center. So if you want to do some shopping and support the youth, they're going to be there selling their wares and maybe some gently used items that it's really exciting for them too. And they'll all have their business license posted and be official, business operators at the event. So it's been pretty successful for us. We've been awarded several grants, and we're excited about that because it's tough. It's very competitive. Everybody wants the money. There's 88 of us cities in LA County all fighting for that money. And so we're really excited when we received some. So we received $850,000 for the purchase of 6 new vehicles for our transit programs that we have to get those riders. So 5 of them are buses and 1 is a van vehicle. And then we also received $130,000 for an Access for All grant and another $250,000 to help us to pay for the pilot program, which is already Prop C funds that we're utilizing, but it helps for us to save those Prop C funds for other projects. We also have some ongoing programs that are community favorites. Our summer concert series, we had our first pickleball tournament because our community wanted pickleball courts, and I'm sure you all heard about it while you're out there visiting with our residents. And we have some pickleball courts, and it was an amazing tournament and turnout for our first one. We also partnered with 12 neighboring cities to bring a senior prom to our seniors, and it was really exciting. It's held at the Commerce Club, and they dance all night and raffle and dress up, and they have a really great time, so we're excited to be a part of that. We have our 4th of July fireworks spectacular. We do our Blue Star Banner program, which you see up along the boulevard, our Whittier folks that are in the armed forces, and we love to honor them and showcase them up on the boulevard. We also have cultural arts programming that we're continuing with, our Chalktastic event, which is a lot of fun, a chalk contest, art contest that happens here in front of City Hall. So we decorate it all up, and it takes a little while for us to rinse it off, but it's really fun to see that art. We have adult and youth sports programming, and we're really grateful for our youth sports affiliates that we partner with on a daily basis to bring that sports programming to our kids. And then our recreational classes, we're really excited to continue to offer those on a regular basis. So some ongoing park master plan projects that we have moving forward is, you know, the Parnell Park project. We also have First Avenue Park that we're continuing to move forward, and I know that you're going to adjust some ad hoc committee members, so we're looking forward to moving that forward once y'all get lined up. We have a Palm Park Aquatic Center locker room renovation. We have the dog park improvements that we're hoping to get moving forward with Kyle's team. The community center gymnasium renovation, as you know, you probably saw the tape, blowing the paint, and the acoustic panels that are original to the facility. And so we're finally going to get to be able to move that project forward, as well as the Anaconda Park expansion. And you could see, oh, that's a fun video. I forgot. I worked really hard to get it in there, so sorry, guys. But you could see they were really excited about the drone footage that they have, just so you could see I'm sure you all drive by it every day, but really excited to see the progress. And so some performance measures that we have here, and the way that some of the Measure W funds are utilized on a regular basis, and some fun tips that are some fun, information that we pulled together was 32,000 miles were covered by the pilot program so far, which saved 44,000 gallons of gasoline. And then you know about the grants that we received for the Dollar Ride and for the pilot program. And we're really excited about so far having over 50,000 passengers use the Dollar Ride. It's a really important program for our seniors and our residents that are disabled, and they're able to use that service for 50 cents to get where they need to go in town. And some can even get outside of the city limits to doctor's appointments. So we're really proud of that program and those numbers. We have day camps, wing clubs, summer park programming, like we said, the extravaganza. We had 977 children enrolled in swim lessons, which on Saturday, Water Safety Day at Palm Park. So if you can get by there, little plug for the activities. And we have about over 1,500 classes and activities that we offer to the community. And they all take advantage. They take advantage of all of the services that we have. So classes fill quickly. Like, for example, summer camp filled in 9 minutes, and there was full. And so we know it's a service that's definitely needed. Our parents need to work. They need to know their children are in a safe place, well cared for, filled with activities, keeping out of trouble. And we're here to serve. And our parks crew that are out there maintaining things, and our contractors. So West Coast trimmed 4,562 trees so far. We have city crews have trimmed 368 trees. We had 135 routine tree removals, 208 tree removals due to projects, and we've planted back 375 trees so far. So, and the final for our parks team is that we were designated again for the 43rd year Tree City USA, and it's not as simple as it might seem, like, oh, they traditionally give this to everybody, but you have to have a plan, and you have to celebrate Arbor Day, and you have to have all the things that are needed to ensure that Tree City USA organization knows that you're caring for your urban forest, and we do that, and we provide that to them for this designation. It's just not handed over because we give that to you every year. So we're really proud of that we're continuing to be that city. And so I think that is the end of my slides. Let me click one more time to be sure. Yep. So now I get to move it on to Kyle Kaysen, the man with many hats, but if you have questions, we're here.
All right, thank you, Ms.
No, hold on, Mary Ann had a quick
I'm
question.
here.
Sorry.
I'm still here. Didn't leave. Just one thing that I didn't see on your plan, and it's something that I care a lot about, and I know that we're going to have a change in the ad hoc committee, but that's the improvements for Broadway Park. Since to me, it's an ongoing program because we already had the community meetings, we had the input, we had the report back about what community wants in that park, and I just don't want it to get lost.
Correct.
So as we look at what the ongoing Parks Master Plan projects are, since Broadway Park is #1 on the list, I don't want it to get lost.
Correct, and I apologize for not getting that on there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Take it away, Mr. Kaysen.
I'm probably the only one that doesn't need a microphone. All right, here we go. So I have the pleasure of presenting the Public Works Department, about 115 men and women wearing a variety of hats, working all throughout the town and here at City Hall. We have a number of projects that we've worked on this year, as Virginia highlighted the Parnell Park project that's moving forward, but we've provided you here with a list. I'm going to highlight some of these projects. The Janine Drive paving project that happened on the east side of town, the Bright Motel demolition project, which is going to allow us to move forward with some additional parking in Uptown in a much-needed area. Youngwood Slope repair. The Palm Avenue project, I think, was something we were really proud of, a water, sewer, and street repair project that ran the entire length of Palm Avenue between Beverly Boulevard and Whittier Boulevard. Ongoing projects at 5 Points and Painter related to the hotspots. Water main break repairs. I want to highlight something here. The water crew pushed for a water vac truck that has allowed them to get to and excavate water main breaks at a pace that is unbelievable. So we're seeing real improvements there. We also have our ongoing water quality testing, which is going on all throughout town all the time. But the slurry seal project that was just completed, mostly in District 1 and District 3, wasn't divided up that way, but that's just how the project laid out. That project, we also have a sister project or another project that's coming later this year that will cover the remaining asphalt streets. Important to state, slurry seal projects only work on asphalt streets, so a lot of the west side of town is concrete streets, so slurry isn't a good use in those areas. You've all seen the DAC spot rolling around that's collecting sidewalk data for us to help generate sidewalk projects, much like the one that's been going on around City Hall here between Painter and in the sort of the southern area of Uptown. That project's been incredibly successful, and we think we're going to generate some more projects based upon the data that we got from the DAC spot. Greenleaf angled parking was a community request that we were able to handle completely in-house from design all the way to installation, with a little bit of help of some centerline striping from our striping contractor. We have a lot of plans in the works, as you'll find out, and I think Ben mentioned to one of you in our meetings that a lot of the items on the consent calendar are related to public works, and so the projects we're doing, anything over $50,000 is coming forth to the council for approval. So you'll see a lot of these items on future consent calendar meetings, our consent calendars, as we move forward through the year. So I like to point out a couple of different things here with our performance measures, and I think it's good to see how we're improving here. I know that when we started with our new concrete crew, we were doing 100 yards of concrete a year. We're tracking to over 450 yards of concrete a year. That's done by our own staff, and those are like working around trees to make sure that we can preserve a tree, fixing a curb that might be broken or a driveway approach that might be broken. Those are handled by our staff. We've a lot of those things up there we've met. I want to point out, and I know I've heard a lot about potholes and those types of repairs. You'll see that we have a goal to do 3,000 potholes a year, and we didn't meet that. And in this year, we're projecting not to meet that this year. But that's largely because we've put our focus on large-scale asphalt repairs. So where we're not just plugging a pothole, we're repairing a whole area where there might be multiple potholes. So that is something that we're also doing here in-house to the tune of approximately or almost 1,500 tons of asphalt put down on the ground by our staff. So a lot going on in Public Works. There always is. You'll hear a lot about us with each agenda as we move forward. And with that, I will pass it on to my friend Aviv.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Thanks for the opportunity to present to you tonight. I want to just start by saying that we keep the city safe by working with every single one of these departments every day. Rarely a day goes by where there isn't some kind of teamwork between all the people that you see sitting here, whether we're doing cleanups at the Greenway Trail, quality of life issues, illegal dumping. We work with Parks Department to make sure that the activities that are held there keep the kids safe. We work with Ben's department on designs of new buildings to make sure that they use the high-tech, surveillance cameras and access control. So a lot of work goes in aside from work and patrol and investigations. We do a lot of planning with our partners here. So I want to thank everybody here. And I also want to recognize just the men and women of our department, 128 sworn, about 60 civilians, 40 volunteers. 24/7, 365, and many times we handle society's most volatile and dangerous situations. And I'm very, very proud of our safety team, especially the officers out in the street that resolve these things every day peacefully. And I want to introduce you mainly to our activity level as we start in. We are a busy police department, and that means that people feel very comfortable calling us when they see something of concern in the community. And that we've always been a busy department. That's a relationship we've had with the community. About 190,000 calls that come into our dispatch center. Our dispatchers are the ultimate multitaskers in taking that information in and getting it to the troops. Last year, we sent our officers on about 42,400 calls for service. It's about 116 throughout any given day, which is just a nonstop level of activity, and it's generated by people calling us about things that they see in the community. In between handling calls for service, our officers last year made over 9,500 proactive stops, mainly for serious traffic infractions and traffic violations, which is also a main concern in the community. I'm sure you heard about that as you're talking to people in neighborhoods. And our average response time to emergencies sitting well below the national average. We've been below that 5-minute response time for emergencies for a number of years, mainly because we've been very close to fully staffed and being able to get places quickly. Part of our core mission is to reduce violent crime in the community. We don't experience a lot of it, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that we're very proactive. We keep tabs on people that get released early to finish their sentences out in public, whether they're probationers, parolees, sex offenders. Last year we held 62 proactive operations along with our partners at probation, LADA's office, and parole, knocking on doors, making sure people are not back to committing crimes. 87 search warrants served by detectives for drug dealers, violent felons, felony suspects in the community. And we booked 144 firearms that are not available to suspects out in the street. On the way of traffic, we get a grant every year from the Office of Traffic Safety. You may see our social media posts say OTS. OTS stands for Officer Traffic Safety. It's several $100,000 that pays for overtime that we are deploying directed traffic enforcement above and beyond our regular deployment. Every month there's a different theme. There's distracted driving, pedestrian safety. And so our traffic bureau and officers held 67 focused operations last year, and also paid through the OTS grant are the DUI checkpoints. They're very human resource intensive. When if you drive by, you see it looks like a mini city set up there with 30 or 40 officers. All those positions are funded through the state through the OTS grant, and it's really mainly done for education in the public. Along with education, we do a lot of prevention. Along with enforcement, we do a lot of education and prevention. 96 crime prevention safety presentations to schools, community groups, neighborhood groups, businesses and organizations. And if you follow us, you know that we're very steady on the social media distribution of prevention information out to the community. And so, a very busy year last year. I wanted to share with you our Part 1 crimes. These are the crimes that we report to the federal government. Every city does that at the end of the year. And we had 2 upward reported crime years in 2023 and 2024. And in 2025, we saw a 13% reduction in reported Part 1 crimes to the police department. That's a great trend, and we're continuing a downward trend this year as well. What you'll see is, even though we do have a lot of green on there, the bulk of the crimes that are reported to our police department have to do with theft. And that's just not us, that's a regional problem. Part of that is because in the county of Los Angeles, there just isn't room in the county jail system for property criminals. The county system, jail system is full of violent criminals, and so we deal with the same thieves on a regular basis that get probation and then re-violate and then see a judge and get probation again. The district attorney visited our station maybe about 3-4 months ago, and I believe what he told our officers is, even though they prosecute and people get convicted, unless you're sentenced to anything over 180 days, you don't make it into the county jail system. There's just no room. So prevention becomes a huge part of reducing crime in the community for us. That fact I share with you is just as frustrating to us as it is to the community. But until the county helps us out with some more consequences for crime, we really have to work with our community to prevent crime and remove the opportunity for those property crimes. I wanted to share with you what keeps us busy. These are the calls that come in and what we send our officers on. It's no surprise, but Southern California is really impacted by a variety of social issues that present themselves out in the street. Over 7,000 calls for service that we sent our officers last year for homeless individuals, people under the influence of drugs, and people experiencing mental health crises. It's really kind of what most police departments in Southern California deal with the majority of the day out there on the street, and followed by people calling us about parking violations. That's that second bar that you see there. And it's tough to retain parking enforcement officers because a lot of time that's a part-time job that's a step up to a different job. And so last year we actually signed a contract, like many other cities in the area have done, with a private company that provides us 5 full-time parking enforcement officers. And they help us deal with that huge call load that we start every morning with and throughout the day. And so in addition to disturbances and things that, what you will not see there at the top is calls about violent crimes, about shootings and stabbings and the things that concern the community. It's mostly quality of life, social issues that our officers deal with every single day. And speaking about that, I do want to highlight, as I wrap up my 4 minutes and 50 seconds here, a great team and a great success story that we've had for probably a decade now, and that's the full-time assignment of a LA County Department of Mental Health clinician to our station that teams up with a full-time officer. It's a full-time 40-hour-a-week team, and they really take the lead in dealing with crises that happen out in the street, but also they work with families and teens and the schools. The advantage of having the clinician with us, number one, it takes multiple hours to take someone and commit them to an institution for an evaluation. And so when they do that, it doesn't reduce our patrol staffing. That officer is not gone. And second, having the clinician on board connects residents here really to the front of the line with county services. That's really been the most significant impact, is that when someone wants help, and if you're over the age of 18, you have to ask for help unless we have to commit you. We can get those individuals connected with county services at the mental health department very quickly. So just some of the numbers, just an impressive team, and they get busier every year, unfortunately, but definitely meeting the cause. So that wraps up my presentation, and we appreciate the ongoing support, and it's a great job by the men and women of the police department out there 24/7. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. City Clerk Department, primarily known for running city council meetings, The residents love the Whittier 365 app, which we help run and facilitate. Of course, in the city of Whittier, we run standalone elections, which we just held. But we're also responsible for the city's information technology and, of course, public records. Some things that I want to highlight here specifically is that we recently secured $250,000 for a Whittier broadband connectivity project through Congresswoman Linda Sanchez. We have some talented staff that was able to secure that grant for us. We also fully implemented Ask Whittier, which is a virtual assistant. What's notable about that is that we keep track of what people are asking for when they come to our website, and then we make sure that we upload those documents on there. So faster service for residents and also reduces some of our workload. We are also a city that helps multiple cities conduct their election, so they use some of our software and we generate some revenue for that. On the IT side, we were able to approve a strategic technology plan that sets our security baseline and also gives us a roadmap for future growth on our infrastructure. And then we also approved a city fiber master plan, which helps us secure that funding so we can be strategic about where we're going to deploy fiber in the future. Moving on to the performance measures, I wanted to highlight how busy of a website we have. We saw a 5% increase, 1.2 million hits. Another thing I want to highlight for our IT department is that our network was up nearly 100% of the time, a big accomplishment for us. And we also blocked, 350,000 bad emails from coming into the city, right? So that keeps our city network going. One of the last things that I want to highlight is our public records request. 3 years ago, we were hovering around 1,400 public records requests, and the number one public records request is permits. So our biggest fans are actually realtors, because before they used to call and say, hey, does this house have a permit? Does this have, is this an ADU, legal? But now they can just find all these documents on our website. So we've seen a dramatic increase in our public records request. At our last meeting, we went over all the different performance measures for the election. We were happy we were able to turn the election around within that 14-day period and helped a lot of the residents, make sure their vote counted. Here's just a graph of what our number one submittal is on Whittier 365, which is graffiti. And I think anyone will tell you that when you report something on 365, most of the time, by the end of the day, it's gone. And that's an attribute to Kyle's team and our contractors. With that, I'll hand it over to Yolanda.
Good evening. I just need 30 more minutes of your time and then I'm just kidding. So our city manager's office is responsible for overseeing the day-to-day operations of the city. Some of the key responsibilities includes, for our office includes supporting the city council initiatives and operational needs, managing city services, representing the city in legislative and intergovernmental matters, and supporting public communication and community engagement, and promoting efficient delivery of city services to residents and businesses. Here are just some of the few accomplishments that we have established within our city manager's office and what we call reaching Whittier and beyond. We've maintained over 25,000 monthly newsletter subscribers and issuing multiple citywide newsletters, and growing our social media presence has been a huge accomplishment within our office. In national and statewide recognitions, there you'll see that we've been recognized nationally for telecommunications officers and advisors for our Channel 3 content, and by the California Public Information Officials for our YouTube content. We also, most importantly, had a successful city council reorganization and swearing in celebration event that we should not be taking credit for in our own city manager's office. It was actually the entire team here that did a great job in hosting that and making that a successful event for our community.
And Mayor and Council, the only thing I'll add to this, I'm very, very proud of this team that you see before you. As you know, succession planning is very important to me, and I think one of the things that really defines this group of folks is the longevity that they have here. It's incredibly important to maintain that institutional knowledge, and when you look around the table here, just the amount of years you have with folks, time working for the city. Alana's been with us 23 years. Aviv's been with us 31 years. Kyle's been with us 16 years. Ben's been with us about 18 years. Virginia's been with us 25 years. I mean, you're well over 100 years of institutional knowledge across very, very important departments that provide critical services to residents. And I think they do an amazing job. They lead an amazing team. And the culture here is what I think you've seen on display today. It's a culture of not only service to the community, but it's a culture of family amongst themselves and amongst all of us. And I think certainly here, it's always professional. It's never personal. We know exactly who we're supposed to be doing our jobs for. And we're very, very proud of the job that each and every one of them do, I think from the chief on over. I certainly am. And so, we're happy to entertain any questions you have and answer them. And we're just really, really proud of what we accomplish every year. And I hope you are too.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments at this point? No? Okay. Yes? Oh, I'm sorry. Please.
Well, thank you for this wonderful presentation and overview of the budget. As you can see, I ask a lot of questions. I'm very engaged, and I do look forward to getting to know the inner workings of the city a little bit better. And I just want to thank you for the staff that's still here. If I ask questions, don't ever take offense. It's really just because a lot of things need to be more transparent and more public, and really is sometimes to highlight things that sometimes it's good things that need to be highlighted. So I thank you for all the work that you do every day for the residents of the city. I know that sometimes all you hear is the negative stuff, but I just from me personally, I do appreciate everything that you do. As Kano knows, I am fiscally responsible, and I do feel that I carry that with me. We have a duty to the taxpayer. It is the taxpayer dollars, and so that's why I do ask and I do inquire. So for me, my priorities in general are going to be constituent services and responsiveness. I do think that the Whittier 365 app is good, and I use it all the time, sometimes anonymously. And the response is very quick, so I appreciate that. But I do think that, and I talked to Kano about this, is getting us reports by district so we have a better understanding about what the residents are asking for, and then maybe using that data to see, big picture as to what the needs are to invest in the investment opportunities that we can make in the city. And then establishing accountability standards to the public, because sometimes they don't know who to ask. And so that's why the transparency, the responsiveness, and so far, thank you, Virginia, for being so responsive to the residents along the Greenway Trail. That was very, thank you. Just thank you for that. Also, a lot of streets need love. So, up in the hill and right out, those tell you that they haven't gone new fully, not just slurry covered, tops, but like a fully revamped or repaved streets, and that becomes an issue for them because they're up in a hill and there's one way in and one way out, and they're impacted by the rain like everybody else. So I would love to know the cycle of how we're fixing our streets in the future so that we can be transparent with our residents. For public safety, the one thing that came up a lot was speeding, especially down Beverly Boulevard and Beverly Drive and along all of our side streets, because people use our side streets to bypass Beverly Boulevard because they don't want to wait. So either we need to figure out how do we invest in traffic calming measures? How do we do some enforcement? You can put a dummy car in front of my house all day long because trust me, they slow down when they see cars. But and additional light strategically, not to create more traffic, but to slow people down. People get injured and people have gone killed, and it's unnecessary. And for some reason, I think it's also an education plan to our visitors and our residents that they need to slow down. You know, these are neighborhoods. I live on a busy street, and it's a residential street, but thousands of people drive by every day. And so I think that that is very important as well. We need to support our businesses. You know, Altadena has, been trying to revitalize because of the devastating fires, and the county's done the homework for us. So let's pick and choose from the county what they've done, one-stop shops, AI plan checks, things that we're not already doing, but maybe there's things that we can learn from them so that we can better support our new businesses and our existing businesses. So I know I have a lot to learn, and you guys are my experts, so I appreciate Kano saying that I can call you guys directly. But I will always be respectful, and I will always have gratitude, and I look forward to building a relationship and serving the District 2 residents to the best of all of our abilities. Thank you.
Mary Ann?
I just want to tell the staff how much I appreciate all that you do, and each of you leads a team, and the members of your team. I think we're very fortunate to have such an outstanding staff that has made a lifetime commitment, really, to the city. I know that I appreciate it, and when I speak with members of the community, they also are very grateful. Complaints, of course, come more often than kudos. And yet I do hear a lot about the professionalism of the staff when community members have questions, and often when they're very, very upset about something. And they appreciate that professionalism in the responses to them. As I say, I have a whole lot of stuff. See it? I have 2 pages worth of stuff. Things that I hope that we can discuss at our future meeting. But I do want to make sure that everyone knows that we don't just pay you for a job, because if we did just pay you for a job, you could get a job anywhere you wanted to. We really pay you for your dedication and your commitment. I was a public employee too, and I always made a distinction between who I worked for and who employed me. When I was a faculty member at Rio Hondo College, I worked for my students, and Rio Hondo College employed me. And for you, I think it's that you really work for the residents. You work for the people who live in the city of Whittier, and the employer happens to be the city of Whittier. And so I just want you to know that I understand that, and I think that's your mindset, and that's why we have such longevity, and why you are so enthusiastic about exciting things that have been going on. And I know from some of our private conversations that you're also very excited about the possibilities for the future. I know that you have some projects you would really like to get going as well. And I think that we together make a really great team for the residents of the city of Whittier. So I'm not going to talk about anything specific because I have a whole lot of things to say for our leader meeting.
I have a question and a comment. Per the script here, it says I'm to ask for a motion. Will I still do that after my comment, or is that unnecessary now?
Mayor, Council, I think because we're going to wind up continuing this item to the next meeting, I'll certainly defer to the city attorney, but my suspicion is we're fine just saying we're gonna make sure that we continue this on to the May 12th meeting.
Okay. So I'm going to make sure that we continue this on to May 12th. Thank you. My comment, though, is I agree with everything that's been said by my colleagues, and you're absolutely right. The collective chronology here of the help is just speaks for itself, but it's such a wonderful thing to have for our city. That's collectively, but I'm going to talk about an individual. Rico, you know, it said there's never too much publicity, and I think that's the case for Rigo Garcia. The gentleman here is just immeasurable what you do for this city and, frankly, the community at large. With the 250th anniversary coming up in this country, you embody the work and the vision of what democracy is. So I thank you so much for that great article. And I just have to shine the light on Rigo. So could we have some applause?
Thank you.
Okay. With that, then, we'll move on to item 8, which is council member comments, et cetera. Any comments, conference reports? Kathy?
Just very quickly, I would also like to thank staff for the presentation tonight. I know it's very intensive for all of you to be here and go through this, and the information is very much appreciated. And I, too, would add my thanks to all of you for your professionalism and for your dedication to the city, but also, most importantly, to our residents. And thank you for your support of me and my role. You make my job a whole lot easier because of the support you give me. Thank you.
Aida?
Yes, I want to echo what my colleagues said. Thank you so much for the information. I thought it was very clearly presented. I appreciate the charts and the pictures. And I also appreciate your willingness to give us more information so that the public is informed. You know, I know that a lot of the projects that you're working on, you're passionate about. At the next meeting, you know, there are some questions I have about specific programs. One specifically is the robot, but I will save that for the next meeting. But I know that you're working at the direction of the previous council, and I just want to let you all know that I'm really excited about this, and I'm excited to work with you on this first budget, and I appreciate all your efforts. You know, as a mom raising my son here, to me, every one of your departments really means a lot, because I think of him going to the library, to the park events, you know, having safe sidewalks, you know, the public safety issues, all that. I guess I don't think about it for myself, but I think about it for my son. So I just want to thank you. And then in terms of just general reports on my end, I just want to let District 4 residents know that I have a separate social media account, an official account for as a council member, where I'll be posting as much information as I can about events, future town halls that I'd like to post, and keep the residents informed as much as I can. I'll also be posting, you know, my new email address and a way to get a hold of me as we work through some of the constituent issues. So thank you already to the staff for your support on that.
Mary Ann, final?
I think that's what I wanted to for tonight. Thank you very much. There are some exciting community events that I've attended, but I'll save that for another time.
Okay. I just want to add, I'm sorry for keeping you departments up late. Maybe Chief can write you a letter to get you out of trouble. But it's clear to me, I don't want to overproject, but my colleagues just in our initial meetings here, we're working very well together. I think we're going to have a good relationship with you. I just want to acknowledge that. And I'd like to say to by the audience, anybody listening, that the economic stability of the city is strong. It's robust. There's challenges that's inherent to any financial planning, but it's strong, it's safe, the city's in good hands, and not to worry, we got it. So with that, we're going to move into closed session.
Upon the conclusion of the closed session, the council took no reportable action. Thank you.